accused Ukraine of trying to assassinate the Russian President Vladimir Putin. 2 drone strikes at Kremlin. Now, Russia says both the drones were targeted by the Russian radar system and they did not inflict any damage whatsoever. And the fact that the Russian president wasn't in Kremlin at that point of time. But what does this mean? What will it lead to? Action-packed 30 minutes. As always, let's get started with the headlines at 7. Massive escalation in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russia claims bid to assassinate President Vladimir Putin in a drone strike on Kremlin. Putin, unharmed, wasn't in Kremlin. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's last mile campaign push in the state of war, Karnataka. The Prime Minister will hold a 37-kilometer long roadshow in Bengaluru this Saturday. Will the Modi magic work for the BJP? Bajrang Dal workers hit the streets a day after Congress pledged to ban the outfit. The Bajrang Dal burns manifesto copies of the Congress, forces entry into the Congress party offices. Big relief for the film The Kerala Story in Supreme Court. The Apex Court rejects plea seeking a disclaimer on the movie. The Supreme Court asks the petitioner to approach the Kerala High Court first. The Indian Olympic Association chief PT Usha meets protesting wrestlers at Jantar Mantar. This after she called the agitation an act of indiscipline. Wrestlers remain defiant, say they will not stop their agitation till they get justice. India gears up for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization foreign ministers meet. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is in Goa ahead of the meet. His Pakistani counterpart Bilawal Bhutto Zardari arrives tomorrow. There is a massive escalation in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The Russian air defense system intercepted 2 Ukrainian unmanned aerial vehicles trying to target the Kremlin late last night, setting the dome, one of the domes over Kremlin. There you see a patch of fire on that dome. The Kremlin said 2 drones were used in the attack on the Russian President Vladimir Putin's residence within the Kremlin's walled citadel. Moscow has accused Ukraine of an assassination attempt. Moscow says this was an attempt to assassinate the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Ukraine, of course, has now officially denied any involvement in the Kremlin drone attack. Meanwhile, Russia has now warned of retaliatory measures against Ukraine. Moscow accused Kyiv of trying to assassinate the Russian president. Russia has said, as you can see in these images, 2 drones were used by Ukraine. Russia claims the drones were disabled by Russian systems. Russia has called it a planned terrorist attack. Kremlin in a statement said 2 unmanned aerial vehicles were aimed at Kremlin, and as a result of timely action taken by the military and special services with the use of radar warfare systems, the vehicles were put out of action. I quickly want to cut across to India Today's finest team of reporters who had reported with me both from Ukraine and from Moscow. Geeta Mohan, our foreign affairs editor, and Abhishek Bhalla, our defense editor, now join me on the broadcast. Geeta, coming to you first, what all has Moscow said and what's Ukraine's response?
Well, the Ukrainian authorities have already come out and denied any involvement in the attack or knowledge of it so far. But Gaurav, the Russian authorities, the presidential press service has come out and, like you pointed out, has come out detailing out what really happened, what's the kind of system that was used to ensure that the UAVs are taken down, and they crashed in Kremlin grounds, scattering fragments without causing any casualties or damage, is what they're saying. But the matter is now being investigated.
We have Sviatoslav Yurash, a young Ukrainian member of parliament, joining me on the broadcast. Mr. Yurash, Russia accuses Ukraine of trying to assassinate the Russian President Vladimir Putin, sir.
Your sound is not working, sorry.
Can you hear me? Mr. Yurash, can you hear me? Okay, give me a moment as I try and reestablish that link with Sviatoslav Yurash. Is a young Ukrainian member of parliament and a very vocal one at that. But Geeta, as we try and reestablish that link, coming back to you, Geeta, Russia says fragments of the UAV have been taken, but has Russia offered any evidence, Geeta?
Well, not yet, because it's too early. They are looking into it. There are some fragments that were found in a forest as well, which is being reported by Russian media. But the last sentence of the statement that has been put out by Russia is very important, where Russia says it reserves the right to take countermeasures wherever and whenever it deems appropriate. Gaurav, this is a very alarming situation. It could escalate to yet another situation where the Russian authorities could look at Kyiv yet again. You see, after the negotiations in Turkey and the negotiations between the two sides, there was withdrawal from Kyiv region, Kyiv Oblast. And now with this incident, although the Ukrainian authorities have already denied any involvement, but should Russia continue to believe, and should they have evidence to prove that this was in fact Ukrainian, then the situation will become from bad to worse. Russia is going to take some very serious action, and would that mean going again into Kyiv region, Kyiv Oblast, is one of the biggest questions that is in many of the experts' minds who are actually looking and keenly watching the situation on the ground.
Stay with me for a moment, Geeta. I also want to bring in Abhishek Bhalla for more on this. Abhishek, you're looking at these images very, very carefully. And as we scan through these images, there is some movement on one of the domes of Kremlin before there is a strike by this drone. What more can you tell us, Abhishek?
Well, Gaurav, the visuals that have come in, they clearly show some kind of flying object, which obviously one could say classifies as a UAV or a drone. And just to give a sense of what the Kremlin is, this will tell you that this is an extremely fortified area, the most fortified area in Russia. The Kremlin houses 4 to 5 cathedrals, several palaces, including the Great Palace, which was the Emperor's Palace at one point of time. And this dome is perhaps which has been hit and is possibly part of that Emperor's Palace, which now houses the president's residence. What the visuals have shown is some kind of an object hitting a dome with the Russian flag here, and we can also see smoke billowing out of that dome once that hit takes place. Now, what next is the big question, because clearly there is a war of words that has escalated from both the sides. Ukraine saying they have nothing to do with it. Russia, on the other hand, saying that this is an act of terror, and the fact that this comes just ahead of May 9 Victory Day parade, it clearly suggests that there are some sinister designs. Still not clear from either side what this object was that hit this building, but we can expect
and apparently there were two. Apparently there were two, Abhishek. Stay with me. Geeta, Ukraine has been talking about a spring offensive. Now it's practically summer. Is this an attempt, perhaps before that Ukrainian offensive begins, the Russians strike and strike hard. They have been. Just a couple of days ago, there was a massive missile strike destroying one of the biggest ammunition depots in Ukraine.
Well, that's right. You see, there has been an escalation. Also, for the very first time, we are seeing Ukrainian forces actually attack territories which are well within Russia. That certainly was alarming. Some of the villages being attacked by the Ukrainian forces, and we thought that there could be some retaliation from the Russian side. Russia did indeed retaliate with a lot of missile attacks, but it's the statement that was made in Finland, where President Zelensky was visiting, and in a press conference he said this was a question on whether if Ukraine is going to get planes or not, Gaurav, and in his response he said whether if we get planes or not, we are going to go on the offensive, that Ukrainian forces are going to go on the offensive, and maybe then they will realize that they need to send us planes, irrespective of whether the planes are coming or not, that the Ukrainian forces are going to go on the offensive. So yes, while the Russian authorities, or there were reports of Russia going into a spring offensive, this is what the Ukrainian president also said, and this and just a while later we got reports of the UAV. So it is a very, very sensitive situation right now, where Ukraine has already denied, but now is going to wait to see what Russia is going to do.
In fact,
Russia
there appears to be more escalation. Geeta, stay with me for a moment. Abhishek, stay with me. There's breaking news that's coming in. Big story. Information that is now coming in. One more unmanned aerial vehicle crash has been reported in Moscow. Information that we are getting, emergency services report that a UAV, an unmanned aerial vehicle, has been found in the forest area near Kolomna. Fragments of a wing tip, an engine, and a small funnel-like object were discovered at this site, and emergency services are now on ground zero. So if two UAVs crashed into the Kremlin dome, over neutralized very close to the Kremlin dome, one more it seems, Abhishek. And Abhishek, what more can you tell us about this big story that's just coming in? This would indicate that this is a bigger and a more coordinated offensive that has taken place.
There's a lot of news just coming in that the Russians have in fact found some remnants of a third drone that has crashed. It's still not clear whether this one has been downed by them or whether it's come down because of a crash. Russia has earlier claimed that two drones were brought down by them, and from here onwards, what remains to be seen is what is going to be the Russian response, because Russia has been very clear, blaming the Ukrainians for this, saying that this is a terror attack. They've impressed upon the fact that this is a terror attack ahead of the 9th May Victory Day parade, which Russia commemorates their victory over Nazi Germany. Remember last year as well, the Victory Day parade was touted to be a big event because it was amid the war. And once again, these developments taking place just ahead of the Victory Day parade clearly
These
signal
images are huge. The images that our viewers are watching here on India Today, you can see that flying object. That flying object comes and crashes in to the dome of the Kremlin, and now there's a massive blame game over this alleged assassination bid. Russia says Ukraine tried to assassinate President Vladimir Putin. Russia says this attack on Kremlin was a terrorist attack. Ukraine, of course, quick to deny any such accusation, any such claim. Russia's accused Ukraine of carrying out a pre-planned act of terror. Ukraine says that its forces are working to liberate territories from Russia and not to target Moscow. The Russians have warned there will be reaction at a place and time of their choosing. And this statement, this warning has come shortly after the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said, as Geeta Mohan was just reporting, Zelensky was in Finland and he said it's necessary to put pressure on the aggressor to end the aggression. I quickly now want to cut across to Kyiv. Colonel Rajesh Pawar, a former Indian Army veteran of the Special Forces, currently in Kyiv, joins us with the latest on this big story. Colonel Pawar, what can you tell us? What's the latest that you're picking up from Kyiv?
Look, Gaurav, the hype which has been created by media is not seen around here in Kyiv. People are going around about their normal lives in a normal way. I tried to speak to some people. Most of the people have not even heard of it. And let me also put a word of caution here. You know, this event has happened in the backdrop of a massive counteroffensive being planned by Ukrainian forces to liberate occupied territories which are under control of Russia right now. And this counteroffensive is known to everyone. Russia knows that Ukrainian forces are planning it, and it is no secret anymore. And this could be, as you mentioned earlier, could be a part of information warfare, could be a part of some warfare wherein the attention is diverted from this counteroffensive. A kind of impression is built that Ukraine is doing things which America and NATO have very clearly mentioned it to it, that the equipment and the armament being supplied to Ukraine should not be used to attack targets within the Russian Federation territory. And if this has happened, as Russia is already calling it as a terrorist attack, somehow the effort and the support which Ukraine is getting in this war against Russia, Russia somewhere feels that there could be some kind of distraction from that, and the kind of support which is coming in may be diluted. But
so,
as far as
what
Kyiv
kind of weapons does Ukraine have? Does Ukraine have the wherewithal to target Kremlin?
Can I have your question again, Gaurav?
Does Ukraine, Colonel Pawar, have the wherewithal to target Kremlin using unmanned aerial vehicles?
This is something totally, unthinkable. Because let me tell you one thing, like you must be aware of, you've been covering these 26 January parades in India, the kind of anti-drone, anti-aircraft measures which are put in place. Now we are having a massive Victory Day parade on 9th of May coming. So I'm very sure the kind of anti-drone, anti-aircraft, anti-missile measures which have been put into place must be of very, very high level. And considering that fact, if some drones could come inside and can hit the Kremlin, where is the office of President Putin, it is unthinkable. But yes, anything is possible with the kind of intelligence and the kind of support which Ukrainian army is getting from the Americans and NATO. Anything is possible. But to say it with certainty who did it at this moment would be premature.
Oh, absolutely. Stay with me for a moment. Geeta, when it comes to Ukrainian fight back, there have been some massive counterattacks from the Ukrainian side, whether it was sinking the flagship of the Black Sea Fleet of the Russian Navy, or it was targeting of the Crimean Bridge, or if this attack has actually been carried out by the Ukrainians. Each attack is more audacious than the previous one. And President Zelensky of Ukraine says, if you give me fighter jets, if you give me longer range missiles, this war will end faster with Russian surrender. What would this indicate as far as Zelensky is concerned and as far as President Putin is concerned?
Well, for now, because there is no confirmation on whether if Ukraine actually did it, we'll keep that aside. But yes, Gaurav, Ukraine is getting quite desperate. This is a war that the West is sustaining but not helping Ukraine win. Ukraine and the Ukrainian president, every meeting, every forum that he goes to has been asking for one thing and one thing alone: weapons in time, the weapons that they need, not the weapons that are being sent without the need or requirement. And very specifically jets. They have been asking for a fighter jet, they have been asking for planes, and they've been waiting for a very long time. We know that the Americans have already said that that's not on the table right now. But this certainly is a move wherein, whether if the attack happened or not, the fact that Zelensky said that Ukraine is going to go on an offensive, irrespective, is an indication that they are going to take on Russia. And if Ukraine suffers, so will the West. So the West needs to step up, and they need to
stay with me, Geeta. Before I bring in Abhishek Bhalla, Rajesh Pawar, if I could quickly come back to you, sir. I want to understand from you, When Ukraine
Gaurav-
says they will have a summer offensive or a spring offensive, that's only in occupied territory. That's only in the Donetsk and the Luhansk region. Or are they thinking of hitting
Gaurav,
Russia deeper?
I want to make the viewers hear this. There's an air raid siren right now going on in Kyiv. It's been going on for the last 30 seconds now. I want you to hear it if it's possible. And there's an air raid warning on every phone. Like I've also received an SMS on my phone just now. And the air raid siren is going on right now. I wonder if you could hear the sound on this.
So we can't hear the air raid siren, but is Ukraine?
Yes, there is continuous air raid sirens going on now for 30 seconds. It started just about 30-40 seconds back. And I wanted to draw, that's why I was raising my hand to draw the attention that it is happening right now. And these air raid sirens are going on. And we also had air raid sirens last night, though for a very short time. And I could not see anything happening on ground. But air raid sirens went off last night as well.
Okay.
And right
what
now
I want to understand from you, Rajesh Pawar, is does Ukraine have any air defense system worth its name to defend its skies? Whether it's fighter jets or S-300 systems or Patriot systems after that recent attack that took place on one of its biggest ammunition depots?
Look, Gaurav, the air raid sirens are still going on. And as far as air defense of Ukraine is concerned, it has been boosted up considerably, especially in the last few months. And a lot of new air defense equipment has come in from US, from various European allies. And air defense system has been boosted up to many levels the way it was when the Kyiv was surrounded by the Russians last year. The air defense system is much better now. And the reliance on S-300 is very limited now. A lot of new air defense equipment, state-of-the-art air defense equipment has come in from America and from the European allies. So I would say that the air defense system of Ukraine today is far better than it was a year back, somewhere in March, April last year. So
okay, Abhishek, last 30 seconds. I want to quickly bring in Abhishek Bhalla. Abhishek, I have last 30 seconds on this part of the show. From what you've been picking up from your sources in Moscow, could a retaliation take place as early as Colonel Pawar reports air raid sirens on already in Kyiv?
Well, Gaurav, difficult to say whether a retaliation will take place in response to what has happened. But there are areas that are seeing intense conflict already. We can expect some kind of an intensification in those parts. To what level does Russia want to escalate this is something that we'll have to wait and watch.
Okay, if there has been an assassination attempt on their president, as Kremlin says, then clearly it will not be muted, and we will be reporting on that story very closely. Geeta Mohan, Rajesh Pawar and Abhishek Bhalla for joining me here. Many thanks. These are 3 different camera images that we have for you of that drone strike, the drone that was neutralized right on top of Kremlin. You see that massive ball of fire. We'll be reporting that story very closely. A quick break. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.
You are watching India Today.
Just never know what to expect when it comes to the Met Gala. From Lil Nas X to Doja Cat to Giselle Bundchen to Ice Spice to co-chair Michelle Coel to David Byrne, whose outfit included a bicycle, the Met Gala is a wait-for-it fashion moment. This year, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York saw the gala honor the legacy of Lagerfeld, the late designer who helmed fashion houses like Chanel, Fendi, and his own eponymous line, and raised funds for the Met's Costume Institute. Karl Lagerfeld, a line of beauty, was the theme. This year's official Met Gala co-hosts were Penelope Cruz, Michelle Coel, Roger Federer, Dua Lipa, and Anna Wintour. Florence Park had a buzzcut and towering feathered headpiece on the Met flanked by Valentino head Pierpaolo Piccioli. Jared Leto arrived to the red carpet dressed like the oversized mascot version of Lagerfeld's beloved cat, Chapette. Lagerfeld had a penchant for pearls and Kim Kardashian was drenched in them. Lizzo too. Just look at that. Lil Nas X showed up completely painted in silver with rhinestones and pearls covering his face. Doja Cat wore glittering cat ears and a flat snout. Her Oscar de la Renta gown was downright feline, a way to honor Lagerfeld. Jenna Ortega walked in like Wednesday Addams, true to the Gothic chic style. In New Delhi, Chaiti Narula for Lifestyle Bureau, India Today.
What happens to passengers, what happens as a consequence of the capacity that has been taken out of the market, and how do you see the situation panning out from here?
One can expect a bit of chaotic conditions at the airport when passengers turn up and there are flights cancelled, etc. Because it will take a couple of days for DGCA and the Ministry of Civil Aviation to persuade other airlines to put in more capacity. Let us not forget that all airlines have been flying with 90% seat occupancy. So they will have very little space on the existing flights to accommodate Go Air passengers. That's the first part. The second, of course, is will there be a mechanism in place for passengers to get their fare back? Now, all these things will lead to chaotic conditions, again, criticism at a time when airlines have been doing exceedingly well. Load factors being high, fares being relatively higher, airlines announcing good financial results. So it's a very sad situation that Go Air had to go. Now, it again brings me down to one question. Is it a sudden development? When you say 25% or 25 aircraft on ground, was DGCA really monitoring the condition? You can't just come up one day and say, all right, we're cancelling flights and we lead to this chaotic. There's a regulatory body in place. Airlines are required to submit all data information. DGCA officials are supposed to monitor. Now, I can't simply understand as to why has the DGCA faltered again. And you have sprung a surprise by the airline and said, look, we just can't operate flights because unfortunately, because the reality would be that it has not happened that all of those 25 aircraft have got grounded overnight. It's been a periodic situation to Pratt & Whitney has not been able to supply engines.
Presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist. Powered by Jaguar. Discover the magic of smart lights.
It's said to be a tectonic election, a triangular contest, a war of ideologies.
What is a double engine? Now, we have 5 guarantees that we are going to provide. What does a double engine provide?
जहाँ भी बीजेपी की डबल सरकार चली है, वहाँ जनता को फायदा हुआ है.
People have seen this double engine for the last 3-4 years and they've called it 40% Sarkar.
One war room versus the other.
Motto of this particular thing, this particular center, that we work on voting behavior when election is around.
Media monitoring center, almost 24/7, cover minute by minute,
Yes.
and make sure that nothing goes wrong in that.
It is a pitched battle where the stakes are high, but the returns will be higher.
140 to 150 सीट लेके आ रही है बीजेपी.
Do or die battle for the secular Karnataka.
देश में मोदी जी, कर्नाटक में बुमाई जी है. हम दोनों सरकार मिलकर कर्नाटक को बहुत काम कर रहे हैं.
BJP does not give importance for regional languages and they have communal issues.
We are reaching out to the people and we are reaching out to the beneficiaries.
From the high-stress 24/7 strategizing war rooms to catch a breather, a quick coffee with 2 of Bengaluru's stand-up comedians who want to change the perception that Bengaluru cribs but just doesn't vote.
You guys crib the most, but you never vote. Because you've got the most abysmal voting percentage as an urban pocket.
I have voted since the time I turned 18. Just to make things clear.
And I've also voted when I turned 18, so, but I crib a lot.
See, there. He's a man, he cribs. Sorry, I mean, I don't know if this is going in the right direction.
Like the last time you guys voted, Karnataka voted 72.3%. You guys voted 52%.
Yeah.
Which is Bangalore, which is abysmal.
Yes. I mean, I think Bangalore loves its long weekends. So they'll be like, 3 din chutti hai, let's go to Coorg and let's chill and all of that. Baad mein dekhenge. No, I'm just kidding. But obviously, I mean, you know, because we also have been part of media, and every time to convince people to go. I mean, it's the simplest thing to do, I think, you know, because the organizations are giving you an off and everything is happening. But we still aren't able to figure out why people are voting so less. And now they always say, we don't know whom to vote. Everybody is equally bad. You know, they have those kind of comments. So I'm like, you know, unless and until you do some research, because they are campaigning last minute, but you have had so much of time to do research, right? I mean, right. I mean, like 3 months back, I woke up to the smell of the tar. And that's when I know the election season is on, you know. Instead of coffee, instead of the coffee, you smell the tar.
What are the issues this time? Because we hear a lot. You guys are very active when you talk about, and it's a sad fact, you know. But you know, I know it's a conversation which is supposed to lighten the mood. But since 2014 to now, you've had so many pothole deaths. So you know, away from all of that, and you've seen a lot of activism. So what's your take on the civic mess you find yourself in?
Civic mess, yes. I think first of all, every city has its own mess, and we also have the same. So we have the same set of issues that metro city like a Bombay and Delhi also deals with. Maybe of course, probably Bangalore 20 years ago, we didn't think that the city is going to be so big and it's going to be inviting so many people and so many kind of industries.
The traffic.
The traffic, of course.
It took us, what, an hour and a half to do 4 kilometers. We cried.
I feel, of course, there are issues. The pothole issue is a consistent one. And it is imperative we have that issue, otherwise radio stations will not have anything to talk about. So I think wo to chalna chahiye, because har saal there is a campaign about potholes and all. But having said that, the influx of people happened when we were not prepared for. So, you know, even if you talk about the flooding and everything, it is happening because the city was not ready for so many people coming in, and to live up to that expectation in terms of housing and everything, they started building on lakes. तो अभी वहाँ पे फ्लडिंग होगा.
moving away from the civic mess, what do you make of politics? Is there a lot of talk, chatter about an election in Bangalore?
All the time. But my problem is, it happens only a couple of weeks before. And it happens when people have already made up their mind. So I feel this campaigning and all should happen a little before, maybe through the work. I think that's the best. Because I see political parties coming at my doorstep every day in the evening and asking me to vote. But I have already decided what am I going to do. So no amount of perks in terms of anything, maybe a bag. I mean, the marketing is going great. That I'm very impressed with. Like, how they're finding ways to put different faces on different things. Like a thali. So if I'm going to buy vegetables, I will have to carry a bag which has this person's face.
Whether you want to vote him or not.
Yeah, because I'm more interested in the thali, which is a big one. So I want to carry more vegetables.
So are you also hearing in a lot of chatter?
Yes, I do. I've been listening to a lot of it. In fact, a lot of my friends, I like the fact that, besides just knowing what party they kind of are leaning towards, they are more interested in who is the candidate from their, constituency and their ward. Yeah, but what the good part is, I see a lot of us researching about the person. We are looking at credibilities. We are looking at what, how promising does, each person look. So basis that, I think there's a good amount of research that's actually happening within us, and it's no longer just about, what our family thinks, what our parents...
Is there dinner conversation?
Yes, absolutely. And also around this time, whatever you wear or whatever you do is like how you are assuming that we are tending towards a political party. Everybody is. So I was so careful of what to wear.
Why?
क्यों मतलब ये print तो उसका है, ये color तो इनका है, I chose a shirt which is a very bright color. I will not say it because then you will assume things about me. So I'm not going to say anything.
That's right. Black.
Saffron. So we had to play safe also, like his flower, any political party का symbol पता नहीं, मैंने तो नहीं देखा. So I just wore it. It seems like a safe bet.
There is dinner table conversation.
Of course.
Final take, look into the camera, and what would be your satirical take on this election as you ask people to vote?
Whatever it takes for you to vote, whatever it takes. Like if it means that, at my place, the discussion right now is where are we going to go have breakfast after we finish voting. So figure out your perks, figure out where do you want to go after elections or before elections, but go and vote. That's all.
And don't worry about those nails, ladies. You can get it redone. I know some people are worried about the ink and all of that. Yeah, just don't.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate both of you. Thanks, guys.
With that, from Bengaluru, we leave for Gowda territory. The old Mysuru region with its 61 seats is crucial. Some would say, along with Bombay, Karnataka, the old Mysuru region is make or break this election.
The JDS's main support base is in pockets of old Mysore.
Right.
And this time, let me give you a little background to that. In 1999, when the Congress and JDS had a coalition, it was the JDS which really suffered from that coalition because the BJP made inroads into areas which were traditional JDS strongholds. This time around, the Congress seems to have retained its base in the old Mysore region. So if I see the JDS's prospects of damaging a party, especially in the old Mysore region, I think it's the party which was the one which took away pockets of its influence last time, and this time it's trying to grab it back. So I think it would be more the BJP which would have an impact if the JDS were to grow in the old Mysore region.
The Ramanagara district has witnessed a campaign on steroids. The home district of the DK brothers, the Karambhumi of the Gowdas. It is from this district, but different constituencies, that both Kumaraswamy and DK Shivakumar are contesting. While standing from the town of Ramanagara is the third generation of the Gowdas, grandson of Devagowda, son of Kumaraswamy, Nikhil Kumaraswamy from the JDS. A part of the Ramanagara district, the Ramanagara constituency is iconic. Iconic not just because the cult classic film Sholay was shot right here. Well, if you remember, the final sequence of the film was shot at the backdrop of this mountain. This is where Basanti was dancing, but that all aside. It's also iconic because it gave a political phoenix moment to H.D. Deve Gowda when he was routed from elsewhere in 1989, 1994. He won from this very constituency. And ever since, it's been a Gowda stronghold. This time, a contest.
These rocks bear testimony to the politics of this region, a constituency dominated by the Vocaliga community, which constitutes 15% of the state's total population. In Ramanagara, Hindus constitute 51.4% of the electorate, while Muslims form 47.65% of the electorate. The Vocaliga vote bank seems to be standing with the JDS.
Vocaliga community, do you think they will support this time the JDS? The BJP is also given reservations. There is an attempt to woo the community.
Not only the Vocaliga community, I'm sure especially our constituency, people are going to support unanimously Janata Dala Secular JDS, because our party is mainly for the farmers. Farmers are dependent on the crop they grow, so it is mainly on the irrigation or whatever facilities which is being given to them. So I am sure no other party has done enough for the farmers as our party has done.
Congress also has a strong Vocaliga face, TK Sivakumar. Do you think, and there is an attempt by the Congress also to try and possibly break the vote bank?
There are leaders across the party. The people are there across the party, the Vocaligas or other community. But if you see the face of the farmers, as I'm saying, they are more projected as the leaders. I accept them; they are unanimously. But then, if you take this as a mass leader, nobody, Vocaliga leader, nobody I think is beyond Deve Gowda or H.D. Kumaraswamy.
Sumak, why do you think the community will stand behind the JDS this time? Because the BJP is trying very hard to. You have DK Sivakumar from the Congress trying and saying that he could possibly be the CM candidate. Do you think the community will stick with the JDS?
Madam, in Karnataka, what we have the Vocaliga community. The community has got a name. It's only because of H.D. Deve Gowda Appaji and H.D. Kumaraswamy ji. Because of those two, the Vocaliga community is being projected everywhere as a big community and a major community. It's because of them the community is getting a good name all over the state. In our state, only 3 people have the main power of turning the votes or major vote bank. So out of that, which is one is Sidramaya ji and the other one is Yediyurappa ji, the other one goes to H.D. Deve Gowda ji. So that's the main reason which everyone knows and the main popular thing now.
A large section of the Muslim electorate here traditionally supported the Gowda family. However, this time, disillusioned.
कम से कम एक 20-25 साल से इधर जेडीएस जीत के है, कुछ भी नहीं है. आप तुम देख रहे हैं अभी, इसमें हमें क्या भी लगाओ मिलाओ करके बात करने का नहीं. इधर का रोड देखना, आदमी का तकलीफ देखना, क्या करके है, क्या भी नहीं हो पाएगा इधर, कुछ भी नहीं है.
The Congress, under its state president DK Shivakumar, contesting from Kanakpura, is expected to exert his might here. At the same time, the BJP has upped the game. Karnataka Chief Minister Bommai announcing a Ram temple on the lines of the one built in Ayodhya, Uttar Pradesh. In a way, the BJP wants Ramanagara to become the Ayodhya of the south.
राम मंदिर से क्या भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं, बनने दो, देखने के लिए खुशी होता ना, देखने के लिए खुशी. उसमें क्या प्रॉब्लम क्या है, प्रॉब्लम क्या भी नहीं है, बहुत अच्छा रहता है, वो सबको ये करता है. इसमें क्या भी इधर का आदमी लोग को क्या भी, हमारा मुसलमान को भी उतना क्या भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. बनने दो, बहुत अच्छा.
The town of Ramanagara, also known as the Silk Town of Karnataka, as it houses Asia's largest cocoon market. But it is an industry literally hanging by a thread.
मोहम्मद साहब, आप कब से काम कर रहे हैं ये रेशम का?
ये रेशम का यही 40 ईयर से कर रहा हूँ. 15 ईयर से मेरा उम्र 15 साल थी. 15 साल से आज 55 ईयर्स हो गया यही काम कर रहा हूँ.
रामनगर पूरा एशिया में रेशम का अगर धागा,
सबसे बड़ा कंट्री है रामनगर. एशिया में सबसे बड़ा कंट्री है रेशम में, सिल्क में.
पूरा प्रोसेस जरा आप एक्सप्लेन करेंगे, शुरू कैसे होता है?
ये हाँ
ये इसको फर्स्ट अंडा बनाते हैं।
ये कोकून है।
ये कोकून है।
हाँ।
इससे पहले इसको क्या करते हैं, इसको छोटा छोटा अंडा रहता है।
हाँ।
उसको 40 दिन उसको रखते हैं। इसके बाद इसमें बच्चा आता है। उसके बाद ये 40 दिन में बड़ा होके लाफा बनता है। हाँ, 40 दिन में
लावा
हाँ बनता है। उसके बाद मार्केट को आता है 5 दिन बाद। उसके बाद हमें परचेस करते हैं इसको।
ये आप परचेस
करते हैं।
इसके अंदर वो कीड़ा है?
इसमें कीड़ा है जो स्टीम देने के बाद मर जाएगा। वो स्टीम करके वो 2-3 दिन रख के उसके बाद उसको रील कराते हैं।
तो उसका रेशम
बनता है। उसे रीलिंग कहते हैं। रीलिंग करते हैं। उसके बाद वो हमारे पास से रेशम वाला मशीन वाला वो लेके जाता है। उसे वारप बना के उसके बाद कलर को जाता है। उसके बाद कलर होने के बाद वो साड़ी बनता है।
यहाँ पर जो कितना लोग हैं जो इस कारोबार से जुड़ा हुआ?
2500 होंगे इस कारोबार में, जो ओनर बल के हम जैसे इसमें काम में जो लगा हुआ मिला के 30-40 हजार लोग होंगे पूरे लेबर ओनर मिला के।
40-50 हजार लोग होंगे। तो रामनगर में बहुत सारे लोग इसी से जुड़े हुए हैं।
यही है बिजनेस। यही बिजनेस। ये नहीं तो पूरा गया। ये बहुत तकलीफ का बिजनेस है। ये हमको दूसरा बिजनेस नहीं आता, यही करते हैं।
तकलीफ का बिजनेस क्यों है?
ये पैसा डालना, पैसा नहीं लिया सुने देता नहीं, बहुत से खर्च लेना पड़ता है, बहुत परेशानी होती है ये बिजनेस में।
प्रॉफिट नहीं है?
कम, कभी प्रॉफिट होता है कभी नहीं, कभी प्रॉफिट होता है कभी नहीं। इसमें कभी भी इसमें कोई पैसे वाला अभी तक नहीं बना, बड़ा आदमी नहीं बना।
क्यों?
ये बिजनेस ही ऐसा है। नाफा आने के तब वो 5000 रुपए रहता बाजार, नाफा आने के बाद 4000 को आ जाता। अब 1000 रुपए चले गया, वो डाउन होता, सब पैसे गवाया, सब मेंटेन करे तक फिर बाजार बढ़ जाता। ऐसा होता।
कितना प्रॉफिट बनता है महीने में?
महीने में मेहनत पढ़ के करे थे 40-50 हजार रुपए। अब हमको नहीं आता, हमारा बाप किया, हम बच्चे कर रहे, ऐसा आ गया ये।
गवर्नमेंट से कुछ मिलता है?
गवर्नमेंट से कोई चीज नहीं मिलती है। लोन नहीं देता हमको, बैंक वाला लोन नहीं देता।
क्यों?
ये बिजनेस ठीक नहीं, खा जाता है बोलते। अब आप लोन देंगे वापस सीधा नहीं आएगा, ये बरोबर नहीं चलेगा। कब की चलता है?
गवर्नमेंट से कोई सब्सिडी मिला है?
गवर्नमेंट से नहीं मिलता। गवर्नमेंट से कोई चीज का सब्सिडी नहीं है। इसको दूसरों को सब सब्सिडी है।
किन लोगों को?
किसान को 50 रुपए किलो पे सब्सिडी मिलता है। जो इसको मेहनत पड़ के इसको रेशम बना के बाहर डालता है, उसको नहीं देता।
तो आपको नहीं है सब्सिडी?
नहीं है। गवर्नमेंट से कुछ भी डीलर्स को फायदा नहीं है।
वोट करते हैं आप?
हाँ, वोट करते हैं।
क्या सोचकर वोट डालते?
हमारा कोई मदद करेगा करके बोलता है, बस मदद की। तो ये 30 साल से ये इधर देवेगौड़ा है प्रधानमंत्री बनने आना, यही गांव से बना है।
यहीं से बना
प्रधानमंत्री देवेगौड़ा। कुमार स्वामी 2 बार चीफ मिनिस्टर हुआ, उसकी बीवी 5 साल ऑलरेडी MLA है।
उसका लड़का लड़ रहा है।
अब लड़का लड़ रहा है, उसके बाद उसका बेटा लड़ेगा। हम इधर कोई नहीं है लड़ने के लिए। वो पूरा उसी लेता है, कुछ मदद नहीं किया। 30 साल से कोई काम किया नहीं।
पर जो मुसलमान रिजर्वेशन है वो तो यही लाए थे कुमार स्वामी।
क्या रिजर्वेशन लाए थे? 2% रिजर्वेशन, 4% दिए, वो भी बीजेपी वालों ने छीन लिया। पूरा मुस्लिम्स में इधर का लोग ये कारोबार का पूरा अनपढ़ है। इसे हमको ऑटोमेटिक या गवर्नमेंट से हमको ऑटोमेटिक कोई स्टेप लिया तो कुछ फायदा होगा।
किसी पार्टी पे भरोसा है?
हमें कांग्रेस पार्टी पे भरोसा है।
और कांग्रेस तो थी, कांग्रेस ने तो कुछ किया नहीं।
कहाँ है कांग्रेस ही? कहाँ है इधर? पहले 5 साल बीजेपी थी, उसके बाद JDS कांग्रेस सरकार 1 साल 2 महीने चला, वो गिर गया, वो परचेस कर लिया बीजेपी वालों ने। सरकार भी कुछ है था तो दोनों मिलकर कुछ करता।
300 rupees for a 12-hour daily shift. Hands shriveled, skin peeling off, with the exposure to the hot steam and hot water.
सारा लेडीज ही ज्यादा काम करता है।
लेडीज पूरे भी लेडीज करी काम। जेंट्स 4-5
पर पूरा में लेडीज है।
पूरा भी लेडीज 4-5 जेंट्स।
और कितना पैसा मिलता है एक शिफ्ट का? पैसा
350
300 350 कितना घंटे का
8 hours
8 hours ಅದೇ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರೇ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಾತಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಕ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ
बोल रहा है वो पगार मिल रहा है मेरे को 300 से 350 रुपया मेरे को इधर पगार महंगा हो गया होने की वजह से मेरे को घर चलाना बहुत मुश्किल हो रहा है इसलिए अब इसकी बार अच्छा गरीबों की मदद करने का सरकार बैठना करके बोल रहा है
कौन है वो कौन मदद करेगा गरीबों
क्या पक्ष
ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಪಕ್ಷ
कांग्रेस पक्ष
Along with the Vocaligas, Ramanagara has a sizable Muslim population. Incidentally, Muslims form one of the largest communities with a 13% population in Karnataka. Scrapping the 4% Muslim quota under the OBC reservation has put the focus here back on polarization in Karnataka. Who benefits? Time will tell.
While there is an all-out clamour by political parties to woo the Lingayat vote, the Kuruba vote, the Vocaliga vote, there is a push, especially by the JDS and the Congress, to go after the minority vote. At 13%, the minority vote counts in the state of Karnataka. There seems to be a push by the Congress, especially on the issue of the 4% scrapping of reservation for the minorities, for the Muslims, and promising that if the Congress comes to power, they will reinstate that 4%. That seems to have struck a chord, especially with the Muslims, where in the old Mysuru region is concerned.
Karishma, take us through all the key numbers of the case and what happens to passengers who booked their tickets.
Absolutely. Go Air is Limited's Go First, which is India's third largest airline, like you mentioned, has filed for bankruptcy, and clearly it does not look it's almost a turbulence in the air, because Go Air has been one of the low-cost airlines and holds a market share of close to about 6.7% as per latest numbers by DGCA. Now, if I take you that through numbers that how the airline management has tried to keep the airline afloat, it is that they have invested close to rupees 6,500 crores until now. In fact, so to so, the first one being 3,200 crores, followed by 2,400 crores, and the latest one of 290 crores in April, in order to keep the airline running and going. But because of their existing issues on engine supply and also their settlement with oil marketing companies, their cash flows have been severely impacted, and they have claimed close to rupees 8,000 crores in order to get back to functioning. Now, they're waiting for the NCLT to admit their case, and if that happens, then there is a likelihood that they may look at resumption of flights, and if that does not happen, then we know that how the whole process with the bankrupt airline goes ahead. In terms of passengers who booked their tickets, the management has said that they're going to soon take a decision after one key important meeting with the CEO is going to go on for the next one day, and by tomorrow they should be able to give some update to the passengers. But the big question is what happens to those flights that have been on schedule under the summer schedule, also of DGCA from May 5th, that is after the given suspension. Currently it shows available, but if the situation is not favorable, because it is highly unlikely for the NCLT to quickly admit the cases because of the case load that even the tribunal is currently holding. So it is unlikely that flight resumption could take in as soon as possible, and that also means a lot of passengers may lose their money. So quick question tomorrow, if the DGC and the government officials may try to review the case and see what the best could be done.
They may not have the necessary resources. They may not have the finances. But where there is a will, there is a way. These superwomen living in a slum in UP's Prayagraj have commenced their own tiffin service. For 50 rupees, you can get a piping hot meal of dal, chawal, roti, sabzi and salad.
टिफिन सर्विस के काम हम लोग अब खाना बनाने लगे हैं। खाना यहाँ अच्छा लगता है और वहाँ काम करने झाड़ू पोछा जाते थे तो 4 बात सुननी पड़ती, कभी लड़का बीमार हो गया, आज नहीं आएंगे, क्यों नहीं आओगी, पैसा काट लेंगे, पैसा नहीं देंगे। अब यहाँ है तो अच्छा लगता है, आपको खर्चा भी निकल आता है हम लोग को।
Their daughters also chip in after school, helping in packing food and of course spreading the word on their mother's amazing service. Several other girls also help in any way they can. The tiffin service has now become a community affair.
मेरे बस्ती के लोग बहुत सब चूल्हा बर्तन करते हैं। मेरी मम्मी भी चूल्हा बर्तन करने जाती हैं। मैं यहाँ पर शुरुआत में खाना भी बनाती हूँ, मैं पढ़ती भी हूँ और इससे मेरा खर्चा भी निकल जाता है, इससे मेरे परिवार भी खुश है।
So who's the motivator? Who pushed these women to pursue their passion and earn a buck or two? Meet Abhishek. He teaches the children of this slum and decided to help out these ladies to become self-reliant.
हम लोग पिछले 7 वर्षों से जो स्लम की बच्चियां होते हैं, बच्चे होते हैं, उनको शिक्षित करने का काम कर रहे हैं और इसके साथ साथ में हम उन्हें स्वावलंबी बनाने के लिए लगातार प्रयास कर रहे थे। तो उसी दौरान हमें पता चला कि जो यहाँ की महिलाएं होती हैं उनके अंदर प्रतिभा तो बहुत होता है, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं उसको सही प्लेटफॉर्म नहीं मिल पा रहा है। तो उनसे बात करके हमने एक टिफ़िन सर्विस की शुरुआत की।
These women have now transformed their families' lives, bringing in money to feed everyone at home. With Pankaj Srivastav in Prayagraj, Bureau Report, India Today.
Presented by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, Growing Legacies.
Co-presented by
Macho Hint, बड़े आराम से.
Co-powered by Timex, Choice of the Titans. XP100, India's first 100-octane premium petrol.
Hello and welcome. You're watching the Political Stock Exchange for Karnataka. I'm Rahul Kanwal. We've tracked the C voter opinion poll data on the PSC so far, as also data from a few other polling agencies. On this show, we're going to look at the CSDS numbers for Karnataka and try and get a sense of which way the political winds are blowing right ahead of the last leg of campaigning in this crucial battleground state.
Big fight over Bajrang Bali. Prime Minister declares himself Hanuman Bhakt.
दोनों हाथ ऊपर करके मेरे साथ बोलिए, बजरंग बली की.
Hindutva, now number one issue.
रिवर्स गियर कांग्रेस दूसरी दिशा में चलती है और ऐसे ही एंटी नेशनल लोगों से चुनावी मदद लेती है.
Who has the edge? Who does Karnataka want as Chief Minister? Most definitive election tracker, Karnataka Political Stock Exchange. Big focus on News Track.
On this edition of the Political Stock Exchange, we're going to look at what the Karnataka Opinion Poll Tracker for the CSDS, the Center for the Study of Developing Societies, is saying. Remember, this is a think tank, a group of well-known academics conducting the study in Karnataka. And before I show you the CSDS numbers, and we've got the pollsters and the lead psephologists with us on this broadcast, I want to show you where things stand at the starting point, because that is important. Oftentimes we think that everyone knows where the match actually starts from, but I just want to spend a moment looking at where things are in Karnataka before the first vote has been cast. We've tracked on this chart the vote share for the principal political formations in the state of Karnataka going back to 1957, which is when the Congress registered 52.7% vote share. Their worst performance was in 1978, just on the back of the emergency. As you see, from 2004 to 2018, the Congress has been in the mid-30s. In the last elections, the Congress registered a vote share of 38%. They were actually ahead of the BJP, even though the BJP was the party that got the maximum number of seats. The BJP had a vote share of 36. If you see, the BJP has had an erratic vote share starting from the late 70s. The BJP peaked in terms of its seat share in 2008. It crashed in 2013 when Yedurappa left the party, and in the last elections had a vote share of 36%. The Janata Dal, which going back to the late 70s, at one point in time enjoyed a vote share in the high 30s and was the principal opponent, in the last election had a vote share of 18.4%. Let's show you how dramatic the swings in terms of seat share and vote share have been in successive Karnataka elections. What you're seeing is data which shows you how much the vote share swings. So in 1999, the party that lost 87 seats, which was the Janata Dal, lost 9.6%. So from the ruling party to the party that won, the vote share transfer was 9.6%. That's a big vote share transfer. In 2001, when the Congress was the incumbent party, they lost 67 seats they held in the elections. Their loss to the JDS and the BJP was 5.5% in terms of vote share. In 2008, the incumbent party at that time was the BJP. Remember, they'd come into power with the JDS in the last elections. They gained 31 seats and about 5.6% vote share. In 2013, the BJP was the incumbent party. They lost a whopping 70 seats. The point we're trying to make is that results can be pretty dramatic in either direction. The BJP lost 70 seats. They had a vote share loss of 14%. That's a big vote share loss. In the last elections, the Congress actually lost just 1.4% vote share. Despite that, they lost 42 seats. So you get a sense of how things in Karnataka can move election after election. So that being said, let's now start showing you the data from the CSDS opinion poll. And the first question that I'm putting on the screen is about whether respondents in the CSDS survey wanted to give the incumbent BJP government another chance at power. And here, 31% of the respondents, that's 3 in 10, said they'd like to give the incumbent government another chance. 57% said no, they don't want to give the BJP another chance. That's a very high level of anti-incumbency. The next question about which party is best for the development of the state. Here we had the Congress at 47, the BJP at 37. That's a gap of 10% between what voters think is the party best placed to govern the state. The Janata Dal Secular came in at 14. With those two data sets out, I want to introduce now our guests, starting with Professor Sanjay Kumar, Director at the Lokniti CSDS Center, one of India's top psephologists. Joining us also is his colleague, Dr. Sandeep Shastri, who's based in Bengaluru, has his nose very close to the ground, National Coordinator at the Lokniti Network. For a contrarian perspective, we've got another pollster who's picking up something very different, and I'll try and understand from Manoj Kumar Singh what he's picking up and why it's different from what other pollsters seem to be picking up. Manoj Kumar Singh is the CEO of Matriz Communications. With us for political perspective on this broadcast is Professor Rajiv Gowda, chairperson of the Congress's Research Department, Tanveer Ahmed, national spokesperson of the Janata Dal Secular, and Joining us from the Bharatiya Janata Party is KS Naveen. So I want to go across first to Sanjay Kumar on the first question which was put out on whether the incumbent government should get another chance. Almost 6 in 10 respondents in your survey seem to be suggesting that they want change. When you look at this level of anti-incumbency and compare it with other state governments where you've done similar polls, what's your assessment of the level of anti-incumbency against the Bommai government of Karnataka?
Rahul, I think the data is self-explanatory. If you look at the proportion of voters who want this government to be re-elected and proportion of voters who want this government not to be re-elected, it's a very high number. And if I compare it with similar question asked in other states, I think this is a very high number. More than 55% people saying they don't want this government to be re-elected, and only little less than 1/3 of people wanting this government to be re-elected. A very high, or I get a sense of strong anti-incumbency against the ruling BJP.
Remember, compare that 31% with the 36% actual vote share the BJP had, which means at least 5% of those who did vote for the BJP in the last election now want the government to change. And the Congress had a vote share of only 38%. Almost 20% more people think they want this government to go and to bring another government in. Given what you've just said, I want to go across to Sandeep Shastri on the second question, which is about which party is best placed to develop the state further. The Congress here has a 10% lead over the BJP, which seems to suggest from your survey that people think at this moment the Congress is better placed to govern Karnataka than the BJP. To what extent are these numbers set in motion? To what extent might they change before the 10th, given that the Prime Minister, Amit Shah, JP Nadda and everybody else from the BJP is performing a last leg bombardment in Karnataka? Are these numbers now more or less set? Could they change? Sandeep Shastri.
Rahul, as Sanjay ji said, there is a clear mood that comes out in the survey. But let's also mention that this survey was done in the last week of April, when the campaign was still on. So Lokniti CSDS has maintained that the mood that we have projected is a mood in the end of April. And because the campaign has still several days left, there is always a scope for some change to happen this way or that.
Will that be marginal change according to you, or could that be major change?
Respondents.
Sandeep Shastri, marginal change or major change? What's possible?
Now, in a close race, even a marginal change can make a difference, Rahul. In a close race, even a marginal change can make a difference. And the question which you raised about the Congress being seen as preferred for development must be linked to the earlier question as to whether you would like to give the government another chance. So in the minds of the people, if there is a feeling of only 1/3 saying that they would like to give the government another chance, this also this in a sense reflects the way people think. And when you ask a question on who is better suited for development, they are responding to what they think is the situation in the state and how they would like to see the state, and what they think about the voting that will happen in the state.
I want to come to the next question, which is about who is the preferred candidate for chief ministership. And here, as was the case in the C voter data, Siddaramaiah, the former Congress chief minister, comes out way on top. I think in that poll it was 44, here it is 40, but directionally the same. DK Shiv Kumar, who's the other Congress contender, comes in at only 4. So a gap of tenfold between Shiv Kumar and Siddaramaiah. Bommai is at 22, Kumaraswamy at 15, Yediyurappa, who's no longer in the fray, and therefore it's unfair to think that that is his actual level of popularity, comes in at only 5. Professor Rajiv Gowda, it's a good problem to have, but you have two candidates who both publicly say they're in the fray. Poll after poll seems to suggest that Siddaramaiah is your real mass leader. DK Shiv Kumar is resourceful, he's a good organizational man, he's useful to have, but he can't hold a candlelight in terms of the public popularity of Mr. Siddaramaiah.
Rahul, the results that you're seeing are based on people's opinions, and their opinions are based on Mr. Siddaramaya's wonderful track record as Chief Minister already. He's someone that they know who has delivered, and the decision on Chief Ministership will be taken by the party MLAs after the election. Mr. Siddaramaya, we're very happy to see these sorts of numbers. We're happy to see that between Siddaramaya and Shiv Kumar taken together, and possibly some other extra numbers, nearly half the population is in favor of a Congress candidate for Chief Minister. So let us deal with the decision at that point. Basically, I think this is a vote of affirmation on the part of the public that Mr. Siddaramaya delivered a wonderful development regime-focused, inclusive regime when he was leading the Congress, and I think that's what these numbers reflect. They also reflect support for the Congress, and that's really But I'm very happy to see that because Mr. Siddaramaya.
You're basically saying we're delighted we are going past the finishing line. Who becomes CM, we'll deal with that headache later. Okay, but remember, this is towards the end of April. You still have about a week to go before polling ends, before campaigning ends, and 10th is the day of polling.
But frankly, Rahul, I don't see any mega changes in any other context. If you saw 57% of the population of those polled opposed so strongly to the continuance of the state government, you would have.
No, so you're right. If the Congress was in power and the BJP was in opposition, I'd say this is a done deal. That the BJP would win if the BJP was the opposition party and the Congress was the incumbent party. It is just that the modern day Congress is so enfeebled and the modern day BJP is so strong that people anticipate that there could be a last minute change in the story. Remember, this is India versus Bangladesh. In that recent match which happened, you kept thinking till the end that Bangladesh is winning, and then somehow they choked at the last moment, and in the end India won. So I'm just highlighting that. But what you're saying,
India, Congress is India. Don't worry.
Okay. You're entitled to say that. I'm just doing the panditri here. The numbers are speaking for themselves, and yes, the BJP does have a strong finishing game usually, and the Congress is usually weak at finishing. But the point that both Sanjay Kumar and Sandeep Shastri make is that the gap now is a major gap. Can that change and to what extent? Usually changes in a tight election can be very big, but the numbers we put out so far don't seem to suggest that it's a very tight contest. Who will the poor vote for? Here we've got 50% of the respondents saying they want to vote for the Congress party. 23% of the respondents say they want to vote for the BJP. This is poor. Inversely, when you ask the rich, who will you vote for? In that CSDS survey, 31% of the rich say they'll vote for the Congress. 46% of the rich say they'll vote for the BJP. But the problem is there are many more poor people than there are rich. So even if you got the rich rooting for the BJP, but the poor rooting for the Congress, that's not a happy spot for the BJP to be in. I want to go across to Manoj Kumar Singh of Matrice Communications, because from the data that I saw from you, and I'll call the poll of polls up on the screen right now, this helps you compare what Matrice is saying with what the other pollsters have said. You're actually suggesting that the BJP will finish number one, very close to the majority mark, and the Congress would do better than last time but still be a distant second. What is it, Manoj Kumar Singh, that you and your pollsters are picking up where the other pollsters seem to be thinking that there is a decisive lead for the Congress party? Manoj.
देखिए, अभी सारे लोगों ने डाटा पे काफ़ी कुछ बहस किया है। मैं दो तीन चीज़ों पे जाना चाह रहा हूँ। मेरे दो ओपिनियन पोल आए हैं और इसमें बीजेपी को बढ़ते हुए हम लोगों ने दिखाया है। हम लोगों ने देखा है अपने डेटा में कि लिंगायतों का समर्थन जो पहले मिलता था उससे ज़्यादा एग्रेसिव होकर लिंगायत बीजेपी के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं। जितनी ओबीसी की जो कास्ट हैं वो भी ये इनके साथ पहले की अपेक्षा जुड़े हुए हैं। मेरा दो तीन प्रश्न है कि कांग्रेस ने जो चुनाव अभियान की शुरुआत किया 40% को लेकर कि 40% कमीशन दिया जाता है यहाँ पे काम के लिए, लेकिन चुनाव अभियान के दौरान वो कहाँ पे 40% की बात कही जाए कांग्रेस ने उसको उस इश्यूज को छोड़ दिया और कल का जो उन्होंने बजरंग बली का जो नारा प्रतिबंध की बात किया है, ये बजरंग दल और बजरंग बली को एक साथ मिलाकर आज प्रधानमंत्री ने जब भी कहीं भी जीतना होता है किसी चीज को तो कहा जाता है कि जय हनुमान और उसको जीत के लिए आगे बढ़ जाता है और प्रधानमंत्री ने इसकी शुरुआत आज इन्होंने अपने भाषणों से किया है। सबसे बड़ी मुश्किल बात है कि बीजेपी को ध्रुवीकरण काफी पसंद है और कांग्रेस हमेशा ये चीजें इन चीजों पे गलतियां करते आई है और उसने मुद्दा दिया है बीजेपी को लड़ने के लिए। आदि जहां तक हैदराबाद कर्नाटका की बात है वहां पे ध्रुवीकरण हो चुका था, सेंट्रल कर्नाटका में नहीं हो रहा था। 3 रीजन थे जहां पे ध्रुवीकरण का कोई असर नहीं दिख रहा था और बीजेपी के लिए मुश्किल था। और लेकिन कांग्रेस ने एकाएक ऐसा एक मुद्दा दिया है
नहीं, पर आपका पोल तो इससे पहले हो गया था ना। कांग्रेस ने जो बात कही बजरंग दल पे वो तो कल थी, आपका पोल तो उससे पहले हो गया था। बट आई सी द पॉइंट दैट यू आर मेकिंग व्हिच इज there could be polarization, that all this is valid only if things stay the way they are. If society and voters get polarized, then they're thinking more Hindu Muslim, and you're saying that that's the direction which the BJP is trying to take, the last phase of the battle, and that could be the game changer. Manoj, यही बात बोल रहे हैं आप?
जी एकदम 100%.
Okay, I want you mentioned the Lingayat vote. I want to call that up on the screen. This question was asked by CSDS. Who will the Lingayats vote for? And unlike what the Congress is expecting, 67% of the Lingayat voters say they'll vote for the BJP. So the Lingayat vote bank of the Bharatiya Janata Party, according to the CSDS poll, is still largely intact. It's not come down. At least 6 out of 10 Lingayats typically say they vote for the BJP. So it's staying at that or a little bit more. It hasn't fragmented. On the other side, the Vocaliga vote is actually split between the Congress and the JDS. 34% of the Vocaligas who were polled by CSDS said they'd vote for the Congress. 36% said they'd vote for the Janata Dal Secular. So more Vocaligas choosing once again the Janata Dal Secular than the Congress. Tanveer Ahmed would be happy to hear that. Tanveer, this whole idea that somehow the Vocaliga vote bank would desert the JDS and move over to the BJP or the Congress, this poll seems to suggest that you are still the #1 party amongst the Vocaliga voters, especially in Old Mysuru.
It's a very fantastic and very happy result to see that one particular community is standing en masse. But however, we would also like to see the kind of politics which is played by Congress and BJP. Just taking a simple example of banning Bajrang Dal, it has not benefited BJP by and large. It has benefited JDS because at 66 places we are in direct contest with Congress. So it is definitely going to help us, help the Janata Dal Secular. It's a very nice thing because having a tall leader like Deve Gowda was the only prime minister, and everybody in the community is totally proud of, even the Vakaligas in BJP and Congress. They always see Kempe Gowda and Deve Gowda on a similar page. They always say that they both have really made us really proud. So I'm really not surprised to see that Vakaliga community standing en masse with Janata Dal.
Sandeep Shastri, respond to the point that Manoj Singh made about polarization in the last phase of campaigning, this whole no ball which the Congress bowled on the Bajrang Dal, which could have well been avoided. It's like too many wordsmiths overwriting a script, ending up putting things which could have just been done away with, giving the BJP an handle, which is now being used in the last phase to hit out at the Congress, and the extent to which that could change the nature of the outcome on the 10th of May.
Now, I appreciate the point that was made, but I would say on that particular issue that in 2018, when the BJP came close to a majority, at that time and in that election, I think you had the saturation of the vote which came on the factor of a religious divide. And that's why during this campaign there has not been much use of hijab or any of the other issues as part of the campaign, because I think that saturation that could have been achieved by that religious divide vote was already achieved in 2018. My own sense is that the latest controversy relating to the Bajrang Dal also, I think those who would support the BJP for that factor would anyway support the BJP. So I'm not too sure as to whether this issue would
Sanjay Kumar, do you agree with Sandeep Shastri's idea that those who would be swayed by issues like Hindutva, like the Bajrang Dal, are already voting for the BJP, and therefore, if things are to change in the last week, you need to change the voter who's on the fence, and he's unlikely to get swayed by Bajrang Dal because the Bajrang Dal supporter voter is already in the BJP's pocket?
If we are only looking at the Bajrang Dal supporters, suppose, so they may be, like the committed voters of BJP. But I do agree that there could be some shift in the last, say, 5-7 days of the campaign. I don't rule out that possibility. Sandeep Shastri has already mentioned, and I want to again reiterate that the survey was conducted in the last week of April. I don't rule out some changes, but personally, I believe I don't expect changes to happen in such an extent that it could change the entire narrative which we are getting at the ground at this moment, which is to say that Congress seems to be having a comfortable lead. I don't think the change would take place to such an extent that BJP will take over Congress, but the gap can narrow down, things can change, because we still have to see Prime Minister Modi campaigning, like he has to address a large number of rallies in Karnataka.
Sure. Mohan Vishwa from the BJP, this idea that 57% of the respondents don't want to give the government another chance according to the CSDS survey, and on the issue of the party that is best stated for developing the state, the Congress comes with a 10% gap over the BJP. Now usually you would like to believe that the BJP is the pro-development party and the Congress isn't. The voters in Karnataka in this poll conducted by Sanjay Kumar and Sandeep Shastri and their teams don't seem to agree.
See, Rahul, I don't know exactly the sample size and where and all on what basis, they have conducted the survey. But let me tell you, the people of Karnataka, especially the Modi ji, you can see, the Modi ji is visiting the state from past 10 to 11 months. For what sake he is visiting? Either he is visiting to lay foundation stone, or he is visiting to, inaugurate certain developmental activities. We himself have laid down this foundation stage. So as a double engine government, both at the state and the center, Karnataka has set up a model for other states. If you have both, the same party at the center and the state, how fast and how far, the development could be. So that's the kind of pace the Karnataka have driven up in front of development. So that's the model Karnataka has set up. So that's what we're going around. And wherever Modi ji goes from past 10 to 11 months, you would have seen.
Do you have any data, sir?
Can I tell you?
So do you have any data for how the double engine has helped Karnataka?
Mr. Tanveer Bhai, your own Karyakartas, the JDS Karyakartas, who is going by road today is on Bangalore-Mysore Expressway. That was built by our double-engine government. Your own Karyakartas, who are drinking pure, water connection in the old Mysore region. They are from Okalika community or Lingayat community. That was done by our BJP government. Please do understand.
I want to stick to the data and not get caught up in rhetoric. I want to move to the next set that I'm putting out, which is about which party is perceived as being corrupt, which party is perceived as being nepotistic, faction-ridden, who can maintain religious harmony. And remember, why these questions are important is because they give you a sense of what respondents in the survey say. 59% of the respondents in the CSDS survey thought the BJP was the most corrupt party. 35% said the Congress is the most corrupt. On the issue of which is the most nepotistic party, and remember the charge of nepotism is often flung the Congress's way. In this sample though, 59% of the respondents said the BJP is the most nepotistic party. Which party is most faction-ridden? Again, ordinarily the Congress is accused of being faction-ridden. In this sample though, 55% of the respondents are saying the BJP is more faction-ridden, 30% say the Congress is more faction-ridden. I want to go across to Sanjay Kumar on this because this is quite different from what you'd expect in another state. On the issue of corruption, on the issue of nepotism, on the issue of factions, you'd expect ordinarily that the Congress would rank worse than the BJP. Your data seems to suggest the opposite, or at least suggest that that's not true in Karnataka.
2 points, Rahul. One, the kind of BJP which we see at the national level is not the kind of BJP which we see in the Karnataka. In Karnataka, it's a different BJP. If you look at the Congress elsewhere in other states may be faction ridden, very low, lying very low, doesn't have a support base. But in Karnataka, if you look at the support base of Congress, it still enjoys a widespread support base, and also it is still, you know, like a cohesive party. It is still a very dominant party in Karnataka. So that's one point, that that Congress, the National Congress is very different compared to the Karnataka Congress. That same applies to BJP as well. The second point is, if the party seems to be on the slide, and I think from the survey I gather that BJP seems to be on the slide in Karnataka. So if it is sliding, then people see all the ills in that party, and if the party seems to be holding strong, people, because remember, this is a perception survey. We don't have a thermometer to figure out whether it is right or wrong. It is about perception. So the Congress is on the up, and people generally in Karnataka believe that everything is good about Congress in Karnataka, and everything is bad about BJP in Karnataka.
Professor Gowda, from the Congress's perspective, the question is, are Congress voters, Karyakartas, Netas likely to look at this poll and others like this and say, okay, we won, hum to jeet gaye ji, our work is done. Now the Prime Minister is doing 8-hour, 10-hour road shows, he's on the ground continuously. And because this mahal, this narrative is being built from these surveys, which seem to suggest the Congress is in the lead, the Congress, as the Congress usually does, gets complacent and starts celebrating a victory before the last vote's been counted.
Not at all, Rahul. That's exactly the opposite of what's going on. We are very, very cognizant of the fact that the BJP has enormous funds, that they will be, they will be pushing out a lot of resources trying to buy votes. And so we are on the alert. We are really doubling our efforts. And then this new narrative that they're trying to create around, our efforts to create a peaceful Karnataka, where we have said...
No, but do you accept that Bajrang Dal inclusion in the manifesto, given that you didn't lay out any evidence about the charges against the Bajrang Dal, which would warrant for the organization to be banned, is an unnecessary self-goal which you could have well avoided?
Not at all, because people want peace. And nobody in Karnataka is stupid enough to believe the equivalence of Bajrang Bali, which is Hanuman, with the Bajrang Dal, which is a bunch of thugs. Okay, it's like saying Ram Sena, which attacked women, is to represent Sri Rama. Okay, that is not, if you're trying to fool the people of Karnataka with this kind of narrative, they will reject you even more. So don't expect that this sort of narrative will change anything. It is now cooked up by the BJP to try and make some difference when they're desperate and they have no issues whatsoever. The numbers are staring them in the face. Defeat is staring them in the face. The Prime Minister can spend the next 10 days here. Nothing will change.
While the BJP does have a high asking rate in the last week in Karnataka, they also have Prime Minister Modi who can do possibly a Rinku Singh, or at least they think he can do a Rinku Singh. But the problem, Mohan Vishwa, is that all your other batsmen have failed. All the state leaders have left this election at a stage where you're now dependent on the Prime Minister to find some way of hitting 5 sixes in the last 5 balls to take you through. Because if that weren't the case, if that was the one variable, the answer to which wasn't known, Sandeep Shastri and Sanjay Kumar would happily say it's game, set, match Congress. The only reason they're being wary of saying so clearly is because Modi is still batting. But what about all the other batsmen?
Rahul, that's what I said in my initial remarks. It is not the last minute swing. Come on, from past 1 year, what's happening in the state? Why Modi ji is coming? Who is standing along with him? I don't want to repeat the same thing again and again. We are behind development. That is what we are doing. And the Congress people, when they made that corruption allegation, there were 3 sessions happened in the assembly. 2 in Bangalore, 1 is Belgaum. They never had a guts to discuss that. They don't have a guts to go and give complaint to either Lokaayukt or ACB. On what basis they are making those kind of allegations? And also, let me tell you one more thing. Looking at these answers, when I saw that nepotism, if somebody is giving hardly 8% for the JDS, people will laugh. Who is controlling that party? The entire country is controlling.
No, I think you missed the point that Sanjay Kumar made. This is not a survey about facts. Of course, the JDS is a nepotistic party. The whole family is in politics. That's not the point. This is about perception. what do respondents perceive as being true? It's not about who's actually more corrupt or who can develop. It's about perception, and ultimately people perceive things a certain way, which is why they vote the way they do. Okay.
Rahul, let it be a perception for that matter. And do you believe that, JDS hardly has 8% and BJP has 59%? What is it? Everybody knows, and everybody's perception knows that, JDS is purely a family-owned party. Everything will be decided in Ramanagara dining table. Hardly they have 6 chairs, 6 people will decide there.
Okay, Tanveer wants to. Tanveer is itching to come in and respond.
This looks
okay.
ridiculous. This looks
Tanveer,
ridiculous.
very quickly, because I need to stay focused on the data. Tanveer.
Politics of contribution, definitely JDS and leaders have done it. Nikhil Kumaraswamy is the only one who's a new entrant. Though he has stood for an MP election, and he took about 5.6 lakh votes. And which is the other family member? Revanna is a fifth time MLA. Kumaraswamy is already there. What do you mean by all the members of the family is there? Absolutely no. There are only 2 people from the family.
Okay.
Though there was, everybody wanted Bhavani Revanna to contest from Hassan. We gave it to a common Karyakarta.
Okay.
I mean, this is really totally
so I just want to tell our viewers.
I would like to agree with Professor Rajiv Gowda at only one point. That BJP has totally lost issues. That's the reason they are picking up non-issues. To be an insignificant party here in Karnataka, try to be significant.
Okay, ji. Let's now put Sandeep Shastri on the mat, because what you've seen so far is the response of people who were surveyed by CSDS on various questions. What CSDS hasn't put out as an organization is the vote share for this election, and that's what I want now Sandeep Shastri to do. Use this sample to give us his estimate of what you think is the likely vote share on the 10th of May. Professor Shastri.
Last time the Congress got around 38% of the vote and the BJP 36%. And if our data shows the type of trends we are noticing, it surely would be a much wider vote share for the Congress and a much wider gap between the Congress and the BJP. And if they were already at 38% last time, it is bound to, if we go by what the trend was in the last week of April, it is definitely, going by that trend, going to be much above 38%.
Okay. So what I did is, we worked on converting possible change in vote share into seat share. So I just want to walk across and show that to you. So what both Sanjay Kumar and Sandeep Shastri are saying is that it is likely that the Congress will gain more vote share. Now, how does this translate into seats? Let's just put that on the screen right now. This is for every percent of vote that the Congress gains. So, for example, if the Congress were to gain 1% vote share, their seat share goes up from 80 to 83. If the Congress were to gain 2% vote share, their seat share could go up to 92. If the Congress were to gain 3% vote share, then the seat share could go up to 107. Remember, 113 is kind of what you need, right? That's the halfway mark in an assembly of 224. If the Congress were to gain 4% vote share, then their seat share could go up to 122. With 5% vote share, the seat share could go up to 139. So if the vote share were to go up, say, between 4 to 6%, then the Congress could end up somewhere in the 120s, 130s range. That is just the way the data was towards the end of April. Remember, 10th of May is polling, and there still could be a last minute twist. To what extent, we don't know, but this is what the data suggests in terms of, for every vote share that the Congress gains, where could the Congress possibly end up in terms of seats. Conversely, let's look at if the BJP were to lose some votes. Remember, they had 36% of the votes. If they lost, say, 1% of the vote, from 104, they could come down to 103. If they lose 2% votes, the BJP could be at 91. If the BJP were to lose 3% of the votes, they could end up at 81. If the BJP were to lose 4% of the vote they had last time, they could end up at around 74. So this table essentially gives you a sense of the possible gains to the Congress and subsequent losses to the BJP if some of the trends picked up by CSDS actually carry out till the 10th of May. Sanjay Kumar, you want to come in and give us a sense of how what you've picked up in terms of votes and in terms of the mood in the state could possibly translate into vote share and seat share on counting day?
Rahul, the way you analyze that, 1% vote, 2% votes in favor of Congress would result into X number of seats. This one has to figure out, this is a three-way contest, Rahul. So how do we assume that 1% vote which is coming to Congress or 4% vote which Congress has gained, it is coming from which party?
Okay, that's a good question.
In this kind of an analysis.
No, I'll tell you what.
In your analysis,
those numbers
your
are
analysis.
Done. Go on. First, you complete what you're saying.
So I am not sure whether you are assuming that this 4% vote which Congress is gaining is all coming from BJP, or it's coming from JDS, or it's coming from elsewhere. Okay. That needs to be explained, because it can't be as simple as that.
Sure, that's a good point. That's a very good point. And I want Sandeep Shastri to explain it, because those tables were actually computed by Dr. Sandeep Shastri, and that's a very good question, which would be, Professor Shastri, in the minds of voters as well, that let's assume the Congress were to gain 1, 2, 3, 4% vote share. How do you translate that vote share gain into seat share? Explain the logic and rationale behind your workings.
Right. Let me make a point here that this has nothing to do with the CSDS Lokniti survey. In discussion with the India Today data team, when more than 4 or 5 days ago, we were looking at what could the configurations be if 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5% loss was there, and keeping in mind the type of vote share the Congress had across the state, and the type of vote share the BJP has across the state, and in the context of the JDS presence in certain pockets. It was in that context with the data team that these numbers were looked at. And these numbers, and I'm again making this point very crystal clear, these numbers has nothing to do with the CSDS Lokniti survey, and these numbers were discussed with the data unit of the India Today team well before the survey actually was complete.
Just so that there is context to what's being said.
In a discussion, if there is...
Yeah, just so that there is context to what's being said, our data intelligence unit keeps doing different kinds of calculations about what could happen. This is part of that exercise. This isn't taken from that CSDS poll, but to put the poll in context, what we've done is run the number, which gives you a broad sense of how a vote share increase could potentially translate into a seat share change. But do you want to just explain to Sanjay Kumar's point, Professor Shastri, that even if the vote share of a particular party goes up by, say, 3 or 4%, how do you calculate where that vote share gain is coming from, at whose expense is that party gaining, because that would have an impact on the seat share calculations?
And in Karnataka,
this is more important, Rahul, because you past trends in Karnataka. This was done on the basis of where the Janata Dal looks to be strong now, where does the BJP where is it in terms of northern Karnataka and old Mysore region, and where is the Congress's presence. And we also looked at other studies which have, I've also looked at other studies which came out, and with the data team when discussing this, it was in those contexts that these numbers were actually discussed.
So I want to come now in the last part of our broadcast to the Karnataka poll of polls, which will give you a sense of where things stand net at this moment. You've got Jan Ki Baat and Matriz saying that the BJP will end up as the #1 party. We've got C Voter and Lok Poll saying that the Congress would be the #1 party. C Voter closer to finish close to the finishing line for the Congress, but not a decisive victory. The likes of Lok poll suggesting that this is actually a much bigger victory. So are we then, according to you, Sandeep Shastri, looking at a big decisive victory? Are we looking at a tight finish? What should those who are watching you at this moment really be thinking about?
Given the way Karnataka has voted in the past, and given the proclivities of the Congress and the BJP, while it seems that the Congress is ahead of the BJP, I wouldn't rule out any change happening in the next 5-6 days. And I would say it is a close race with a little advantage to the Congress. And I know Rajiv ji will not like me making this point. In the past, the Congress has often snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Thrice they have done it in the past in Karnataka. And therefore, that element of caution, that though ahead, it is a tight race.
Okay, though ahead, it's a tight race. Manoj Kumar Singh, are you confident of your prediction that the BJP will end up the victorious party on the 13th of May? Or do you want to suggest some caution as well? Manoj.
राहुल जी, सबसे बड़ी बात है कि आपने जो 4 एजेंसियों की बात किया है, उसमें से 2 एजेंसियां हैं जो कांग्रेस की बना रही हैं और 2 हम बीजेपी की सबसे बड़ी पार्टी के रूप में हम लोग देख रहे हैं। सबसे पहले मेरा ये कहना है कि जो भी हमने कास्ट का अभी सारा डिस्कशन किया और वोट शेयर की बात की, सब कुछ की बात की, हमें ये बताना जरूरी होता है कि आखिर जो कास्ट, चाहे वो लिंगायत का हो, लोहागिर का, जो भी हो, ओबीसी हो, एससी हो, एसटी हो, वो चेंज हो रहा है और दूसरे पार्टी की तरफ शिफ्ट हो रहा है, तो क्यों हो रहा है? उसको इशूज क्या मिल गया जिसके कारण वो कास्ट उसके तरफ शिफ्ट हो रहा है? आज की डेट में आप पूरे कर्नाटका में आप घूमेंगे तो एक चीज हर कास्ट में मिलता है। देखिए, शेड्यूल कास्ट, शेड्यूल ट्राइब, ये दोनों कास्ट शिफ्ट हुआ है बीजेपी की तरफ से। जहां बीजेपी पहले से शेड्यूल कास्ट में थी, लेकिन ट्राइबलों में उनकी पकड़ थोड़ी कम थी। जहां तक बात है कि हम सेंट्रल मैसूर की बात करते हैं, वहां पे बीजेपी की अपनी पकड़ बनी हुई है और मैंने क्या कहा, डे टू डे मुद्दे बढ़ते जा रहे हैं। मुझे जब पहली बार चुनाव अनाउंसमेंट हुआ था तो मुश्किल से लगता था कि बीजेपी 100 सीटों तक आ सकती है, लेकिन जैसे जैसे चुनाव और चुनाव प्रचार ने जोर पकड़ा, लोगों ने अपने मत को लोगों के सामने व्यक्त करना शुरू किया कि हम किसके साथ जाएंगे और उसके कारण क्या है। लोगों ने डेवलपमेंट देखा, प्रधानमंत्री के काम की बात करते हैं लोग, साथ साथ मैंने क्या कहा कि कांग्रेस कहती है कि भाई आप डेवलपमेंट पे क्यों नहीं बात कर रहे हैं। पूरे बीजेपी ने बता रही है कि कांग्रेस में हमने पानी के लिए कहां पे किया, एयरपोर्ट के लिए कहां पे काम किया, हॉस्पिटल के लिए क्या किया, एजुकेशन इंडस्ट्री के डेवलपमेंट के लिए क्या काम किया। ये चीजों पे चर्चा होनी चाहिए थी और ये हो रहा है। तो पब्लिकों को लगता है, आम जनता को लगता है कि डबल इंजन की सरकार होगी तो हमें यहां काम करने का मौका मिलेगा। दूसरी बात, जेडीएस और जो बीजेपी हैं, ये दोनों बहुत तरीके से वहां चुनाव लड़ रहे हैं और दोनों, मेरा मानना है कि ये दोनों पार्टियां एक दूसरे को सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं कांग्रेस को रोकने के लिए। जहां तक रही कांग्रेस की बात, आपने प्रचार के लिए बताया कि प्रधानमंत्री जी गए, कांग्रेस की तरफ से भी प्रियंका भी है, राहुल भी है, कांग्रेस का अध्यक्ष भी है, लेकिन इनकी जमीनी पकड़ क्या है और कितने पब्लिक को ये अपने तरफ खींच पाते हैं, ये रिजल्ट बताएगा और चुनाव में सारा दिखेगा। तो मेरे हिसाब से लगता है कि हमने काफी उस पे काम किया है और सर्वे पे अभी भी टीम है वहां पे। आपके पास यदि अभी सुविधा होता तो मैं दिखाता कि लाइव में आज के डेट में और कल के डेट में कितना डेटा में चेंजेज आया है। लोगों का अब जो रिएक्शन है वो दिख रहा है डेटा में, और जो पहले होता था कि मैं नहीं बताऊंगा कि किसको वोट दे रहा हूं, आज के डेट में उसमें जो पहले 17% तक जाता था, आज के डेट में मात्र 5% ऐसे लोग हैं जो कह रहे हैं कि नहीं अभी मैं ये डिसाइड नहीं किया हूं कि किसको वोट, यानी कि 12% ऐसे वोटर हैं जो कल के रिएक्शन के बाद, कांग्रेस के घोषणा पत्र के बाद जो आया है, 15% वोटर जो हैं वो आज के डेट में बोलने की स्थिति में आए हैं। और कांग्रेस का ये, बीजेपी का यही सबसे बड़ा हथियार है कि आम जनता को लेकर बोलने लायक बनाती है। दूसरी बात है कि जहां तक हम जातियों की बात करते हैं तो आप उत्तर प्रदेश का उदाहरण देख लीजिए, जहां पे ओबीसी लीडर गए थे, तो उत्तर प्रदेश का उदाहरण देख लीजिए कि जहां बीजेपी कैसे ओबीसी लीडर हटे थे तो लग रहा था कि एक तरफा चुनाव होते जा रहा, लेकिन प्रधानमंत्री और यहाँ की सरकार ने, जो योगी की सरकार थी, पूरे जातीय समीकरण को तोड़ते हुए एक बड़े बहुमत के साथ सरकार में आई थी। आप बंगाल का उदाहरण देख सकते हैं। तो इसी तरह बीजेपी ने ओबीसी, एसटी और सारे जातियों के उन समीकरणों को हटाया है, उनके लीडर्स को समाप्त किया है। आज के डेट में लिंगायत का पूछिएगा कि लीडर कौन है, बीजेपी के पास भी है और बीजेपी उनको साइड करके
Sanjay Kumar, before I wrap up, your sense of whether the die is cast, the decision is made, or do you think there could be a last over change?
No, decision has not been made, because the decision of the voters will be made only on the 10th of May. So I would not say the decision has already been taken. I think things would change slightly this side or that side. So I would say that the party is, I'm not in a situation to say party A or party B is certain to win this election. I would say it is, I don't see it as a very tight contest. Congress certainly seems to have an edge, but we have to wait to see how Prime Minister rallies connects with the people of Karnataka, and if that is going to make any change or not. But at this moment, Congress certainly has an edge over BJP.
Okay. We leave it there. You've heard different perspectives, different political voices, different pundits give us their assessment of the state of play in Karnataka. The advantage with this kind of a broadcast is that you picked up a sense of what the respondents in this survey and in different surveys have been saying. So if you keep watching all of them, you get a broad sense of which way the winds could be blowing and what could potentially also change. I want to thank all our guests, Sandeep Shastri, Manoj Kumar Singh, Sanjay Kumar, Rajiv Gowda, Tanveer Ahmed and Mohan Vishwa for joining me on the Political Stock Exchange. We'll slip into a break. I'll have more for you when we come back on the other side. Stay with us. Back in a moment.
हनुमान जी की पवित्र भूमि को प्रणाम करने के लिए आया हो, उसी समय कांग्रेस पार्टी ने अपने मैनिफेस्टो में बजरंग बली को ताने में बंद करने का निर्णय किया है.
An election pledge by the Congress to ban organizations spreading hatred in society has put Hindutva politics back on the center stage. The Grand Old Party's Karnataka manifesto mentioned the Bajrang Dal and the radical Islamist outfit Popular Front of India in the same way, raising the hackles of the Sangh Parivar.
पहले प्रभु श्री राम को ताले में बंद किया और अब जय बजरंग बली बोलने वालों को ताले में बंद करने का संकल्प लिया है. यह देश का दुर्भाग्य है कि कांग्रेस पार्टी को प्रभु श्री राम से भी तकलीफ होती थी और अब जय बजरंग बली बोलने वालों से भी तकलीफ हो रही है.
The Congress leaders defended the manifesto and vowed to crack down on any organization promoting enmity in society. The BJP called it a revenge for the ban imposed on PFI by the Basavaraj Bommai government.
ये रक्षा करते हैं हमारी, मोदी जी आपसे भी यही रक्षा करते हैं हमारी. इनसे आप तुलना कर रहे हैं बजरंग दल की. माफी मांगे प्रधानमंत्री इस देश से और करोड़ों ऐसे भक्तों से जो बजरंग बली को अपने दिल के करीब रखते हैं.
पीएफआई लोगों ने रिक्वेस्ट किया होगा कांग्रेस को, देखो अमित शाह जी ने हमें बैन किया है, आप बजरंग दल को बैन कर दीजिए. तो ये क्या अब हिंदू का ऊपर आक्रमण करने के लिए यहाँ आया है।
The Bajrang Dal hit the roads against the Congress at many places. Flags bearing Lord Hanuman's images were soon spotted at BJP rallies and roadshows. The Congress manifesto also listed many freebies that they are calling guarantees. These include offers of free electricity, food, cash transfers to homemakers, and unemployed youth. The Congress list of guarantees seem to have put the BJP in a spot of bother in Karnataka. Now the party's poll pledge to ban Bajrang Dal, considered a fringe outfit by many, has put the focus back on Hindutva. Bureau Report, India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
मथे पे लाल टीका, खून वही है काला।
RCB or MI?
मेरी मैया।
Don't miss the coffee. There we have it. Death by chocolate. I am being given a lungi.
To finish the game, Joker is required.
This is not UP BR. Soumya Reddy is the Rahul Gandhi of Jayanagar.
Ragi mudde, country chicken. Kaun banega mukhyamantri? Winning. This akki roti, I want to tell you. Tumba chennagi ide.
Time for lunch with our special guest. Welcome.
Absolutely super.
A cricket coaching center exclusively for girls. This sports academy in Dharoki village near Patiala is fueling the dreams of girls who aspire to play in the Indian Premier League for women. Gulab Singh Shegil, a policeman, set up the coaching center in his farmland. Shegil, who could not realize his dream of becoming a cricketer, is now training 18 girls for free at the center. From shoes to cricket kit, he takes care of everything. When it started in 2019, the coaching center was open to both girls and boys.
जब दिसंबर स्टार्ट हुआ तो सर्दी बहुत थी, तो खेतों में है यहाँ फिर आपको ठंडी जो हवा थी ज़्यादा होती है, तो लड़के आना बंद हो गए। लड़कियाँ? हाँ, तो लड़कियों ने रेगुलर रखा। डेडिकेशन देख के उनकी हमको लगा ये ओनली लड़कियों को ही चाहिए।
Shegil has hired a cricket coach to ensure his wards get proper training.
यहाँ पे आया, यहाँ पे देखा मैंने, बच्चों का माहौल देखा, बच्चों में पोटेंशियल देखा, तो फिर मैंने सोचा मैं शाम को यहाँ पे जरूर आया करूँगा। तो जब भी मैं पीपीएस से फ्री होता था तो साथ के साथ यहाँ पे आ जाता था, बच्चों के साथ मन लग जाता था, बच्चों को सीखने को मिलता था।
The trainees are already making an impact.
मैं अंडर 19 भी खेली हूँ और अंडर 15 स्टेट कैंप में भी सिलेक्ट हुआ और अब पटियाला में डिस्ट्रिक्ट में।
सर हमें हर मैच मोहाली दिखाने जा रहे हैं, मैं दिखा रही हूँ तुम्हें कौन कौन सी स्टेज क्लियर करनी है, भी कैसे आगे जाना है तुम लोगों को।
Shegil says he doesn't need monetary help. All he wants is cricketers to come and encourage these budding players. Bureau Report, India Today.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 33 and minimum 21 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 32 and minimum 27 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 37 and minimum 25 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 26 and minimum 22 degrees. Chennai, maximum 31 and minimum 24 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 30 and minimum 22 degrees.
To focus on hatchbacks, and there's actually no plan to do any production tweaks so that probably production is lesser for hatchbacks?
So production, actually you have different lines in the different plants. So it's not as if you can immediately shift one capacity to the other because you require specialized equipment for every model. But we have reasonable flexibility, I would say. And as I said, we are expecting the hatch segment to remain flat. And in fact, it has been flat. It's about 34% of the total market in April as well, which is actually the same number as we saw for the full year of last year. However, SUVs have gone up in this month, about 47% share of the total pie of the passenger vehicle industry against about 43.5 for the whole year 22-23.
Right. Also, Shashank sir, could you, it's actually very clear that the sale of SUVs is driving growth for sales as far as Maruti is concerned. In the recent past, a couple of SUVs have been launched, or a facelift has also come up. So, could you give us some number and the trend of the SUVs as far as Maruti goes?
Yes. So, if you look at the whole of last year, our market share was 12.6%. But if you look at it quarter-wise, quarter one market share was about 8.5%, but went up to almost 17% in Q4. That's because of the introduction of the Grand Vitara, which we did in September of last year, and also the increased availability of Brezza. And that has helped us to get the market share of 17% in quarter four of the last financial year. And now we have introduced the Fronx, dispatches of which started in the month of April. Although the retail started just a couple of days back, in this figure of ours in the wholesales include about 8,500 units of Fronx that we dispatched. And now our targeted market share for the SUVs is about 25%. From 12.5%, we are targeting to double it to 25. That should help us get about, in the overall perspective, about a 4% increase in market share. Hopefully to be in that to 45% plus range again.
RCB or MI? Don't miss the coffee. There we have it. Death by chocolate. I am being given a lungi.
To finish the game, Joker is required.
This is not UPBR.
Soumya Reddy is the Rahul Gandhi of Jayanagar.
Ragi mudde, country chicken. Kaun banega mukhyamantri? Winning. This akki roti, I want to tell you. Tumba chennagi ide. Time for lunch with our special guest.
Welcome.
Absolutely super.
Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist.
Co-presented by General Air Conditioners, the Extreme Machine.
Co-presented by Cool Fan, smart inside, stylish outside.
XP100, India's first 100-octane premium petrol.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today, your primetime destination news, newsmakers, talking points. We are coming to you tonight from Mumbai, where remember the big political story has surrounded the political goings-on in the NCP and its supremo, Sharad Pawar. We'll have plenty of that, asking the big question, what is really Mr. Pawar up to? Will Mr. Pawar now lead an opposition unity mission? All that and more in a moment from now. But first, the 9 headlines at 9. Massive escalation in the Russia-Ukraine war after Russia claims bid to kill President Vladimir Putin in a drone attack on the Kremlin. Putin unharmed, Ukraine denies its role. Suspense over Sharad Pawar's resignation. Several senior leaders and party cadres quit the NCP to mount pressure on Pawar to return as the NCP chief a day after he announced a decision to step down. Who will lead the party in 2024? Election Commission issues a notice to Mallikarjun Kharge for his snake remark and Priyank Kharge for Nalayak Beta attack on Prime Minister Modi. Notice also sent to BJP MLA Yatnal for calling Sonia Gandhi Vishkanya. Indian Olympic Association Chief PT Usha meets protesting wrestlers. This after she called the agitation indiscipline. Wrestlers defiant, says they won't stop till they get justice. Big relief for the film Kerala story in the top court. Supreme Court asked petitioners seeking disclaimer on movie to approach the Kerala High Court first. Ranchi court rejects Rahul Gandhi's plea seeking exemption from personal appearance in the Modi surname case. This a day after Gujarat High Court refused to suspend his conviction. India gears up for SCO foreign ministers meet. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar in Goa ahead of the meet. His Pakistan counterpart Bilawal Bhutto lands tomorrow. Fares set to rise as much as 20% on some busy routes this summer. It's the big impact of Go First being grounded after filing for bankruptcy. And Lionel Messi suspended by Paris Saint-Germain after 2-day Saudi Arabia trip. The player's pay will be docked during the suspension. But the big story breaking today is coming in the Russia-Ukraine war. In a sensational claim, the Russians have claimed that there has been an assassination attempt on their President Vladimir Putin. Ukraine and has accused Ukraine of using a drone attack to target the Kremlin. Ukraine has denied its role. Kremlin has warned of retaliation after the drone attack. The report says Putin moved to a bunker now in his Moscow home. A third drone has been found in a forest near Moscow. So a drone attack reportedly near the Kremlin, Russia claiming that it's a targeted attack on Vladimir Putin. Joining me now, Gaurav Sawant, who was in Ukraine, remember, last year for several months, and Geeta Mohan, our foreign affairs editor, who is in Goa ahead of that SCO meet. Gaurav, what are you picking up? Is this propaganda war, or was there a serious, is there something more serious to these accusations being made by the Russians?
Rajdeep, Kremlin has officially said that this is a terror attack and this was an assassination bid on President Putin. He, of course, wasn't there. Russia has also said, and that's significant, that they reserve the right to respond at a place and time of their choosing. And this, Rajdeep, may well be, the escalation. Ukraine says this is the escalation, the excuse the Russians were looking for. Remember, the war has already escalated in some sectors. Very recently, there were more than 100 rockets and missiles that were fired. One of the biggest ammunition dumps of Ukraine, where a lot of Western equipment that had come in for the spring offensive, that's where that weapon system was stored. That was targeted. Now, in the past 6 months, Putin has actually targeted some very vital strategic assets and points, but so has Ukraine. There have been 3 major incidents, Rajdeep. One was the sinking of the flagship of the Black Sea Fleet. The second was bringing down that bridge, the Crimea bridge, and the third is this attack that's taken place on Kremlin. This actually gives Putin the right to hit back in a very major way, as the Russians look at it, that they will now target Ukraine ahead of that spring offensive or the summer offensive of Ukraine to take back some of the territory that had been lost to Russia in the past 1 year, Rajdeep.
While you're, it obviously appears, therefore, the situation becomes more precarious. But Geeta Mohan, you are at that SCO meeting where Russia will be represented. How is this being viewed diplomatically at the moment? Russia, for many countries at the moment in the Western world, almost a persona non grata. But how will this be seen if Kremlin is able to provide credible evidence that that there was a targeted attack on the Kremlin?
Well, Rajdeep, can't say that it is completely going to overshadow the proceedings and the conversations and the agenda of the SCO foreign ministers meet, but it certainly is going to take most part of the conversation on security, on any type of cooperation, and on conflict. When we were in Bali for the G20 summit, there was a missile that landed in Poland, which became a big deal, and the G7 had to meet on an emergency basis there. The entire meeting was overshadowed. Here, Lavrov being over here, he is going to raise the issue. This time tables have turned. It's not the Ukrainians or the West that's going to raise concerns with regards to Russian move. It's going to be Russia in the room talking about Ukraine and the attack on the Kremlin. The Russians now believe that it's the Ukrainians. Ukraine has denied it. We'll have to wait for the findings, but this certainly is going to lead to an alarming situation at the Russia-Ukraine border, certainly. But over here at the SCO, where Lavrov will represent Russia, there certainly is going to be a lot of conversation on the war, the conflict, and how there is no forward movement unless and until the two sides come to the negotiating table, which certainly the Ukrainian side is not accepting of, given that Russia has usurped Ukrainian territory.
Okay, Geeta Mohan and Gaurav Sawant giving us the update on the very latest on the Russia-Ukraine war. Thanks very much. Okay, let's turn to the top political story of the day, and it's coming from here in Maharashtra, where NCP sources are now revealing to India Today that Sharad Pawar's resignation is unlikely to be accepted by a committee that's meeting on the 5th of May. NCP sources now telling us that the committee of NCP leaders will instead aim to convince Mr. Pawar to stay on as president. NCP sources are saying that Mr. Pawar is ready to play a national role. Working president may be now appointed for the organization of the party. The NCP sources saying there is no option to Mr. Pawar at this stage. So after all the high drama that took place with Sharad Pawar resigning or saying that he will step down as NCP president, the fact is that it appears increasingly likely that Mr. Pawar will be pushed to stay on by his party. All of that, of course, is leading to question marks. Has this all been stage managed in a way to corner Mr. Pawar's nephew, Ajit Pawar, who some reports suggest was planning to join the BJP? What exactly is happening on ground zero?
The Maha-political roller coaster is throwing up more twists and turns a day after Sharad Pawar announced his resignation as NCP boss. Even as Pawar is supposedly reconsidering the decision and will announce in a day or two, the NCP has been rocked by mass resignations as one wicket after another has fallen for the party. Party leader Jitendra Awad tendered his resignation as General Secretary of the party, and many more office bearers have also resigned with him.
आज महाराष्ट्रातल्या सर्वसामान्य कार्यकर्त्यांची भावना काय आहे की शरद पवारांनी राजीनामा देऊ नये आणि मग शरद पवार साहेब जर आम्हाला सांगतात तर मग त्यांनी त्यांची शिकवण लोकशाहीच्या मूल्यांबाबत त्यांची शिकवण मान्य केली पाहिजे.
The NCP is now battling this full-blown crisis, but the focus remains Kaun banega king in NCP? Who will be Pawar's successor? After an internal huddle sparked speculation that discussions were underway to choose the next NCP chief, the party vehemently denied the same.
आज कोई भी चर्चा वहाँ पे हो नहीं है, ना राष्ट्रीय स्तर की ना राज्य स्तर की. आज मीटिंग ही बुलाई नहीं गई थी.
Sources, however, have told India Today that Pawar's daughter Supriya Sule is the front-runner for the post. But then, what about Ajit Pawar?
If the Maratha strongman Sharad Pawar refuses to reconsider his retirement, NCP may opt for a makeshift arrangement of dual leadership. Considering her experience as Lok Sabha MP, Supriya Sule can be appointed as party's national chief, while Ajit Pawar will be more than content by being CM face.
महत्व ये है कि पवार साहब अध्यक्ष रहने चाहिए, ऐसी कार्यकर्ताओं की मांग है. अभी उसके बाद जो ऑप्शंस है उसकी आज चर्चा करने की हमारी पहली मांग अगर पूरी नहीं हो रही है तो अगले ऑप्शंस का विचार हो सकता है.
As the NCP deals with the Pawar blowback, questions loom on what this means for the Maha Vikas Aghadi. Allies Congress and Uddhav Sena are trying hard to claim all is well, but they are no doubt counting on a change of heart by Pawar.
माननीय पवार साहेब हे देशाच्या राजकारणामध्ये काम करत राहतील, विरोधी पक्षाचं नेतृत्व करत राहतील, भारतीय जनता पक्षाचं दिल्लीतून आणि महाराष्ट्रातून पूर्णपणे उपक्ष निस्तनाबूत होत नाही सत्तेवरून तोपर्यंत ते काम करत राहतील.
एनसीपी की कमान किसके हाथों में जानी चाहिए? आप एक
वो उनके पार्टी के अधिकार है, उसमें उनको किसी को भी बनाए वो उनका अधिकार है.
The Pawar play, as expected, has stumped political rivals. But perhaps the biggest hit is on the NCP itself and its allies. Bureau Report, India Today.
Okay, I have been at the YB Chavan Center earlier today where the leaders were trying to persuade Mr. Pawar to take back his resignation. But I spoke to workers of the NCP and asked them a simple question. If Mr. Pawar is firm on his decision not to return as party president, who would they like? Listen in to what they had to say, almost with one voice. Since this morning, NCP workers have been here at the YB Chavan Center where Sharad Pawar is holding a meeting with senior leaders trying to convince Mr. Pawar to take his decision to resign as NCP chief back. I'm going to do a spot poll of these workers to find out if not Sharad Pawar then who. Zar Sharad Pawar अपने निर्णय पे कायम रहे और कहा मैं इस्तीफा दे रहा हूं तो कौन चाहिए आपको? अगर शरद पवार
कौन चाहिए उसके बारे में हम नहीं बात करेंगे, लेकिन पवार साहब ही चाहिए, हमको पवार साहब ही चाहिए.
शरद पवार ने कहा
ये हम बोलेंगे नहीं, लेकिन पवार साहब अगर इस्तीफा पे कायम रहेंगे तो पवार साहब के कार्यकर्ता भी इस्तीफा पे कायम रहेंगे. ये हम सब दे देंगे.
नहीं, आप कह रहे हैं और कोई नहीं है पार्टी में?
जब तक पवार साहब है, जब तक दूसरा कोई नहीं है.
शरद पवार साहब इस देश की आखिरी उम्मीद है. आज के समय में देश को शरद पवार के विचारों की और निर्णयों की आवश्यकता है. ये राष्ट्रवादी की जरूरत नहीं है.
अगर उन्होंने निर्णय पर कायम रहे हैं तो क्या फिर?
हम अगर मगर पे विश्वास नहीं करेंगे, हम अगर मगर की बात नहीं करेंगे. हम चाहते हैं कि पवार साहब रहे, क्योंकि हम पवार साहब की वजह से राष्ट्रवादी में काम कर रहे हैं.
तो अगर शरद पवार कहे आप थैंक यू लेकिन मैं नहीं रह सकता,
हम उन्हें कन्विंस करेंगे,
पवार साहब को मजबूर करेंगे.
हम उनका हर बात मानते हैं लेकिन ये बात नहीं मानेंगे.
उनको वापस लेना पड़ेगा राजीनामा। पार्टी में और कोई नेता नहीं है क्या? नेता पवार साहब जब तक है तब तक कोई दूसरा नेता हो नहीं सकता।
पवार साहब जैसा कोई नहीं है, उनका ही
आज की तारीख में देश की जो स्थिति है, उस स्थिति के लिए पवार साहब का नेतृत्व देश के लिए जरूरी है।
सर हम चाहते हैं कि जो स्टेयरिंग चला रहा है वो स्टेयरिंग पवार साहब के हाथ में रहे, गाड़ी वो चलाए, उस गाड़ी में सब बैठेंगे, वो जहाँ दिल चाहे उनका ले चले, हम सब उनके गाड़ी में जाना
एक ही रहेगा
नहीं, ही इज द चेयरपर्सन,
ही इज द चेयरपर्सन,
ही इज द चेयरपर्सन। और टाइगर अभी जिंदा है ना, तो द वन एंड ओनली टाइगर शरद पवार साहब। शेर बूढ़ा भी हो जाए तो घास नहीं खाता, एंड ही इज द रियल रोरिंग टाइगर।
इस देश में धर्मांतर, ये देश में जाति पाति की लड़ाई, ऐसे परिस्थिति में शरद पवार साहब की देश में जरूरत है। हमारे जैसे युवक
यहाँ ही रहेंगे जब तक वो निर्णय वापस नहीं ले।
वही रहेंगे।
आप तैयार क्यों नहीं है? क्योंकि शरद पवार कहते हैं पार्टी को आगे बढ़ाना है, व्यक्ति पर फोकस मत कीजिए।
पवार साहब पार्टी की जान है, पवार साहब पार्टी का आत्मा है। पवार साहब नहीं रहेंगे तो पार्टी नहीं रहेगी। हमारा
अजीत पवार या सुप्रिया सुले कमान संभालेगी, आप तैयार नहीं रहेंगे?
साहब है तब तक ऐसा सोच नहीं सकते हम लोग।
साहब आप सोच नहीं सकते ये
तो दादा ताई ऐसा कुछ कहेंगे ही नहीं, हमके कॉन्फिडेंट है। हमारे सब नेता, सबके नेता पवार साहब है, हमारे नेताओं के नेता भी पवार साहब है। जब तक साहब है, जब तक साहब रहेंगे, बाकी कोई नाम का हम लोग के दिमाग में नींद में नहीं, सपने भी
This is the way a political party is. NCP equals Pawar, Pawar equals NCP. Rajdeep Sardesai for India Today.
Okay, now let's try and understand and give you an explainer why this Pawar resignation is so important nationally. Remember, Maharashtra is the state with 48 Lok Sabha MPs, the second largest in the country, therefore becomes critical ahead of a general election year next year. The Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi alliance that was in power till last year, many believe could pose a strong challenge to the BJP in a state that the BJP did very well in 2019. Mr. Pawar is seen as the glue to hold the MVA together. Mr. Pawar is expected, therefore, to use his network to connect with opposition leaders, not just in Maharashtra, but across India. That's why Sharad Pawar matters in a way. The big question, of course, therefore, what is this power play all about then? Was this stage managed? Or is Sharad Pawar serious about stepping down as the NCP president? Or is the Pawar stranglehold or the Pawar family stranglehold over the NCP going to weaken? Some of the questions we'll raise. Joining me now, Dr. Jitendra Awad, senior NCP leader who today has resigned from his post as General Secretary. He wants Mr. Pawar to take back his resignation. Nikhil Wagre, senior journalist. Girish Kuber, editor Lok Satta, who was on the stage with Sharad Pawar when that dramatic announcement was made yesterday. And our Mumbai bureau chief, Sahil Joshi, are joining me. I appreciate all of you joining us. First to you, Jitendra Awad. Are you adamant that Sharad Pawar has to stay on as party president? Do you see any alternative to Mr. Pawar?
There can be no alternative to Mr. Pawar looking at the national scenario and his stature. I don't think there is any alternative in any other party also. So probably in the interest of the nation, I'm not talking about the state, in the interest of the station, the nation, when fascist parties are going, the democratic system is being stabbed, it's in danger. I think Mr. Pawar should think of the nation first. There's nothing more important than the nation.
Are you saying NCP has no other leaders other than Mr. Pawar who can take the party forward? Are you saying you are a one leader party?
Not one leader party, probably, to be very frank. There is nobody in the country of the stature of Mr. Pawar in any party. Forget about NCP.
Oh, come on,
I'm not talking
Mr.
about
Awad, are you telling me that the likes of Narendra Modi, Mamata Banerjee,
I think that is what I wanted to make. That is what I wanted to make you clear was I'm not talking about BJP or the right wings. I'm talking about the center. Yes, Stalin is the leader. Mamata is a leader. Absolutely fine. But a person who can connect with Nitish Kumar, with Tejasvi Yadav, with Mamata Banerjee, with Stalin, with Sitaram Yechuri, with D. Raja, and all those who are in opposition parties, even Farooq Abdullah, I think the only man who can connect will be Sharad Pawar. And he has already said that I have no ambitions of becoming the prime minister. So somebody who can hold the fort of the oppositions together is Mr. Sharad Pawar. We have to agree about that.
Nikhil Wagre, do you believe what Jitendra Awad says, that the NCP cannot survive without Sharad Pawar?
Yeah, I agree with Jitendra Awad. NCP will not be same without Sharad Pawar. They can run the party, Ajit Pawar, Supriya Sule, they may run the party, but it will not be the same without Sharad Pawar. Sharad Pawar is indispensable for NCP. Sharad Pawar is architect of Mahavikas Aghadi, and now he quits as president of NCP. It will affect adversely on Mahavikas Aghadi also. There are plenty of problems before Mahavikas Aghadi. So NCP needs Sharad Pawar, and also Mahavikas Aghadi needs Sharad Pawar.
You're saying that the MVA needs Sharad Pawar. Girish Kuber, interestingly, you were on the stage when Sharad Pawar made that announcement. Were you also taken by surprise? Do you believe that there was an element of planning behind this? Or did Sharad Pawar suddenly wake up one morning and say, okay, I've had enough, I want to step down? It seems that he had planned this very carefully, perhaps many believe, to corner his nephew Ajit Pawar, who's planning, some say, to quit and join the BJP, or at least tie up with the BJP.
Rajdeep, you also have covered Pawar a lot, when you were in Mumbai. So one thing can be sure about Pawar is there is nothing extempore, nothing on the spur of a movement, and there is nothing like just I thought save. But the way he has planned, and there is a clear-cut information, and which is now in the public domain also. 4 members of his family were completely aware of it, including Mr. Ajit Pawar. Everybody was in the loop. So it's not right to say that that's a shock and all that. Shock maybe for others on the like those workers kind of supporters, But it was well planned and well thought of move, because there were so many issues in the NCP. There were threats, there were reports about defection and a split. So it's a perfect strategy as far as Pawar's style of functioning is concerned.
So you think that he did this because he wants the entire party to unite before him? You expect him therefore to continue as party president after the 5th. You don't think that he will actually stick by his decision to step down?
No, he will not take the post, but the way Pawar functions, even if he's not holding the party post, I mean, he's going to be there. This is like, that's what I've written in Indian Express. This is like taking Tata away from Ratan Tata or JRD Tata. He will be like chairman emeritus, So he will continue to dominate the party. His shadow over whoever leads the party here onwards will always be there, So it's like a kind of a towering personality in the NCP. The party which can't do anything without Mr. Pawar.
So you're saying very interestingly that he could be a chairman emeritus in a way for the party. Sahil Joshi, you have been speaking to people close to Mr. Pawar. Is Mr. Pawar in any mood to take back his resignation? Yesterday and this morning he was very firm. But do you believe with every passing hour he's realizing that he will have to play some kind of a role, including possibly a chairman emeritus or a chairman's role within the NCP?
Well, it is very interesting the way, the answer to this question lies in the way the NCP was formed. The NCP is not the party which was formed the way Shiv Sena was formed, or for an example, Congress was formed. It is not the party which came out of some kind of a struggle or some kind of a movement. It was not the party which earlier was a kind of an organization and then later turned into a party. This is the party which is formed because of the rebellion by Sharad Pawar, P.A. Sangma and Tariq Anwar against Sonia Gandhi's leadership in 1999, and the people who joined the party in Maharashtra were already part of the Congress, and they joined NCP because they believed in Sharad Pawar's leadership. So there is a specific reason why these people have joined NCP. So there are some leaders within the party who at that particular time joined NCP looking at Sharad Pawar, are now thinking that if Sharad Pawar is not going to lead us, then who else? if somebody else come and start leading the party, then it is not acceptable to them because they joined this party because of Sharad Pawar. They believed in Sharad Pawar's leadership and that is the reason why they joined this particular party. So these are the people who are putting pressure on Sharad Pawar that if you have to do the succession plan, why now? When we are going to go for an election within a year's time, why not after a year? So today, what is the biggest difference what I'm looking at is that on 5th of May, this particular committee which is formed by Sharad Pawar is now not going to take a decision about his successor, but first that committee will decide whether to accept Sharad Pawar's resignation or not, and that is a big shift from what the situation was yesterday. So now if this particular committee decides to reject the resignation of Sharad Pawar, then Sharad Pawar will either have to accept the decision of this particular committee or he will have to convince the committee that why they should be accepting his decision. So again, all over this fight will start. And most importantly, the problem, as I said, is going to be that who is going to lead the party. Yeah.
You're making a very interesting point, and I'll come to that in a moment, because a lot of regional parties face this question. Parties identified with an individual supremo. After the supremo, what? After Mamta, who? After Naveen Patnaik, who? After Sharad Pawar, who? But Jitendra Awad, I just want to play a video. You really broke down yesterday. And I just listened to the manner. I want our viewers to see. This is Jitendra Awad, senior leader of the NCP, former minister in the Maharashtra government. Listen in for a moment, and then I want you to react to this. Yes.
साहेब सर्वांची विनंती आहे का छोट्याशा घरात जन्माला छोट्या समाज झालेल्या माणसाला इथपर्यंत आणलं साहेब तुम्ही कोणाकडे बघून राजकारण करायचं आम्ही घरी बसतो ना काय मग राहू द्या लोकांच्या बाबतीत मी तर मी नसतं राजकारण आधारच नाही कोणाचा दादा सगळ्याची विनंती
Mr. Awad, please explain the manner in which you emotionally reacted. I mean, there were those who have said that what happened yesterday could have been stage managed, but I'm presuming that your tears were genuine. What is this emotional connect? I mean, you know, is this sycophancy, Congress style, or is this simply love and affection that you claim you have for your leader?
See, Rajdeep, I came into politics and I am with him from 1987. Luckily, though from a small faction of society with no financial help, with no family help, I joined it. And it was Mr. Pawar who picked me up in my small, at an age when I had no political contacts with me. And thereafter, he went on pushing me, went on pushing me, went on pushing me. There is no sycophancy in it. I love Mr. Pawar more than anything else. More than anything else. So, you know, I go to his place at 7 o'clock. If I have any problem, I call him at 2 o'clock. And there are times when he has sidelined senior leaders just to take my side. Many a times I have seen that whenever I have taken a stand and my senior leaders have opposed it, he has always said, "Na Jitendra barobar." So
you're saying he's like a father figure. He's like a father figure to you.
He is not he is something which I can't replace. There's no use in being politic. If I join any other party, how will that leader of that party come to recognize me? Today I can go at any time, call him any time. He will answer my phone any time. He will call back any time. That is love and affection between him and me. That relations can't come back again. Now I'm 59. I have spent 35 to 37 years with him. And with no other leader, I don't go to anybody else, not in our party. forget about opposition. In ruling party, no, I don't go to anybody. That's my habit.
Nikhil Wagle, listening to Jitendra Awad, do you believe that this is why it will be difficult to replace a leader like Sharad Pawar? I am likening him to Mamata Banerjee in Bengal, to some extent Naveen Patnaik, but these are leaders who the party is identified with that individual. People have joined them because of the individual, not an ideology, but faith in Sharad Pawar. So, can Sharad Pawar settle the question after Pawar who?
Rajdeep,
is it possible?
I want to speak.
Yes.
Rajdeep, I want to speak on this. Mr. Sharad Pawar does have a progressive ideology. It is not only his figure, his ideology at times, what I speak or what I deliver. Nikhil Wagle also knows about my behavioral pattern, the way I speak, what are my ideologies. And Mr. Pawar has been supporting it. At the time when my whole party was against me, I don't want to talk about that issue. But on that point also, he said, Jitendra Awad studies and speaks. I stand by him. So it is not that he has no ideology. He has a progressive ideology. And there is no person to match him at this stage for that ideology. There is a complete vacuum.
Okay.
So it is not about.
So you're saying he represents a
He's just
I take the point. You claim he represents a. I take the point. You claim he represents a particular progressive ideology. You claim that he represents certain values that bring all of you together. But Nikhil Wagle, therefore, are we in a situation now where the NCP is faced with a real crisis of identity after Pawar who? This question that therefore Mr. Pawar will have to continue as the leader of the NCP as long as he's alive.
Yeah, I think that is true, and I agree with you. After Pawar who? Pawar has not finalized his succession plan. His successor is Ajit Pawar, Supriya Sule. After 10 years, his successor will be Rohit Pawar. All Pawars. Pawar generally opposes dynastic politics, but his successor is all from his own family. The problem is that what Jitendra Awad was telling, you can only compare this emotion, Pawar's popularity, with Bala Sahib Thackeray. I have seen the emotions, the atmosphere when Bala Sahib Thackeray resigned twice in his career. He wanted to resign from the as a chief of Shiv Sena when he got disgusted with all other leaders. Shiv Sainiks were anti other leaders, but Shiv Sainik wanted Bala Sahib Thackeray to stay, to withdraw his resignation. So Sharad Pawar is taking a leaf out of Bala Sahib Thackeray's copybook. Finally, Bala Sahib Thackeray withdrew his resignation twice. That affection I see in NCP's cadre for Sharad Pawar. Only you can compare Shiv Sainik's affection for Bala Sahib Thackeray and NCP's affection for Sharad Pawar. So you use the right word. Sharad Pawar is a father figure for Maharashtra. There is a section of Maharashtrian crowd who loves Sharad Pawar. He is the most popular leader. I have criticized Sharad Pawar all along my life, but I must admit that now he is the most popular leader in Maharashtra after Bala Sahib Thackeray. So I think this entire crisis, Sharad Pawar has manipulated this crisis.
You're saying Sharad Pawar has manipulated this crisis to create a kind of emotional bond between him and the party workers. The workers in particular have this emotional bond. But Girish Kuber, various names were thrown just now by Nikhil Wagle, Supriya Sule, Ajit Pawar. Do you see any of them succeeding Sharad Pawar at all? Is that at all possible that they can fill in his shoes? Will it be a smooth transition? Or do you believe that Sharad Pawar is someone who simply the party will end with him? Is that possible at all, that the party can continue beyond Sharad Pawar?
There are 2 points. First thing is, I respect what Jitendra Awad is saying, his emotional connect, I can understand. But if there is anything that can be talked about Mr. Pawar's politics, his complete calculativeness and the way he strategizes everything. So there is everything in this except emotional part. Number one. Number two, we are ignoring the most important part in this decision, that is his wife. I was sitting right next there, and some of the leaders, they came and they suggested we are going to announce that he's going to withdraw. The way she tackled, no. I mean, that was a firm no from someone Pawar always has respected and who is the glue in the family. Mrs. Pawar has been extremely important as far as NCP family is concerned, Pawar family is concerned. And number three, we can't compare Sharad Pawar's resignation to what what Bala Thackeray did. For obvious reasons, because the entire Shiv Sena, the structure is based on the edifice was emotion. The foundation was emotion. Shiv Sena's politics is all about emotions. This is nothing like what NCP is doing. So this is a very calculated move. He has a succession plan in his mind, and like the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Pawar will do something which is not you and me can are anticipating or discussing.
So who's the successor? So Girish, who do you think is the successor?
I still believe he will have some kind of a very a consultative kind of a role for himself. He will be a guide philosopher for the party, and there will be someone who is acceptable to all. Because having Ajit Pawar as a leader has his own consequences. Supriya will have her own issues with the party. So he will find some kind of a acceptable name to all. So I think it will be hazardous. Yeah.
Right. You're saying he will look for an acceptable face to all. But we are told that, Sahil, all of this has happened against the backdrop that several MLAs of NCP were keen to switch over or tie up with the BJP. Are the MLAs also firmly behind Mr. Pawar, or is it simply the party workers? The MLAs want to go to the, towards the BJP for protection. Do you get a sense that the party will fully unite behind Mr. Pawar in the days ahead?
Well, this is a very interesting scenario which is developed in NCP, what I'm seeing at this point of time. All the gentlemen here have seen the NCP since many years. In fact, have seen Sharad Pawar's politics since many years. But I have seen NCP being born in front of me. I started my career with NCP's birth as a political party. What the difference, what I'm trying to see here is that for the first time, including Sharad Pawar, people are trying to make differentiation between the elected representatives and the rank and file of the party. The way Uddhav Thackeray tried to do it when 40 MLAs went with Eknath Shinde. Not only they took the MLAs, but also party's name and the symbol, the party's identity was taken away by Eknath Shinde. Now Uddhav Thackeray claims that the Shiv Sainik, the rank and file is with me. Similarly, Sharad Pawar since last few days has been making comment like the MLAs, if they want to go, they can go. But the party rank and file, the party cadre is not going to side with the MLAs. They prefer to be with MVN. That is what I'm trying to do. So there is a clear-cut differentiation what Sharad Pawar is trying to make. Another point which was made is that he definitely had a calculated move. That is very clear. But what is more important is that there are leaders who have been trying to tell him that, look, we came to this party because we saw something in you, because we believed in your leadership, and we came into this party. Now what we are supposed to do? The cadre which he's talking about, that the cadre which should take over again after him, the people like Jayant Patil, Ajit Pawar, they are all from the same batch of the politicians. They came into NCP, forget Ajit Pawar, but rest of the people came into NCP because they believed in Sharad Pawar's leadership. Now, will they accept Ajit Pawar's leadership? Will they accept Supriya Sule's leadership? Will they accept anybody else's leadership? Is the question which Sharad Pawar had not thought about, I guess. And that is what exactly will prevent him. Last point. What I'm trying to say is that, yes, he will be firm on his decision. Yes, he will not change his decision. But yes, what I believe now is that there is a possibility that he may delay his decision. He may accept one point that, okay, if you don't want me to leave, I will eventually have to leave the leadership of the party, but maybe after the elections next year. Because when the election year is starting, the party with a new leader may have a problem. So that is the thing which he will have to answer to these particular.
So you're saying the possibility is there that Sharad Pawar could defer this decision to finally step down till the elections next year, the critical elections where Mr. Pawar still hopes to play a role. I can tell you from sources close to Mr. Pawar who I have spoken to today, they are saying Mr. Pawar actually intends to travel even more without the added burden of day-to-day organizational responsibilities across Maharashtra, to connect with leaders across the country and try once again to have a national role as well as an important role here in Maharashtra. Sharad Pawar is someone who, as I say, is a... Yes, please go ahead, Nikhil. Yes.
Rajdeep, yesterday night he was telling me
Jitendra.
that... Rajdeep, yesterday night he was telling me that we will tour more. We will have more seats and we will come back to power anyhow with Uddhav Thackeray and Congress together. We will increase our seats.
Okay.
I will tour more. And he was very clear about it. So, my feeling
so
is that...
you're saying, as I said, I take your point, Jitendra. The fact is that Sharad Pawar, I keep saying, is the politician who's perhaps the most durable that we've known in a long time. He's fought cancer. He's fought several ups and downs in his political career. We can be critical of several aspects of his political career, but you cannot deny his sheer longevity and his ability to be a political survivor. And maybe this move too is part of that effort. I appreciate all my special guests joining me here on Pawar Power or Power Play. From there, let's turn to Karnataka, the election battleground state where the Prime Minister is campaigning extensively. Today, Mr. Modi held rallies in coastal Karnataka, a BJP bastion. He started, not surprisingly, by invoking Bajrang Bali or Hanuman. The BJP evidently has made the Congress's promise to act against the Bajrang Dal an election issue. Take a look at the Prime Minister on the campaign trail.
Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist. Powered by Jaguar. Discover the magic of smart lights.
दोनों हाथ ऊपर करके मेरे साथ बोलिए, बजरंग बली की, बजरंग बली की।
Bajrang Bali, the revered Hindu god, is the new flashpoint in battleground Karnataka. Congress poll promise to ban Bajrang Dal, equating it with Islamist radical PFI, has triggered a massive slugfest, triggering angry protest by the Bajrang Dal and big attacks from the BJP, which called it Congress siding with PFI.
ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಆರಿಸಿ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಜರಂಗ ದಳ ಮಾಡೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ಅವರ ನೀತಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತದೆ. ಬಜರಂಗ ದಳ ಒಂದು ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕವಾಗಿ ಧಾರ್ಮಿಕವಾಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಂಘ. PFIಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಹೋಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅದು ಸರಿಯಲ್ಲ. PFI ಈ ದೇಶದ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆ ಮಾಡಿದೆ.
सिद्धारमैया जी को पहले PFI के विषय पर कर्नाटक की जनता से माफी मांगनी चाहिए, जिसने 175 केस वापस लिए. आज PFI बोल रहे बैन करेंगे. ये तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने एजेंडा सेट किया है, इसलिए तुमको बोलना पड़ रहा है.
But equating Bajrang Dal to PFI, which is a terror organization, is something that has taken Congress to the highest point of appeasement politics.
The Bajrangis staged protest in multiple cities, burnt Congress manifesto, and held Hanuman Chalisa chants in protest. Bajrang Dal workers clashed with police in Hyderabad. Protesters chanting Jai Shri Ram were detained by cops. The Congress accused Prime Minister Modi of hurting religious sentiments of Hindus by equating Lord Hanuman with the Bajrang Dal.
कांग्रेस पार्टी ने अपने मैनिफेस्टो में बजरंग बली को थाने में बंद करने का निर्णय किया है. पहले प्रभु श्री राम को ताले में बंद किया और अब जय बजरंग बली बोलने वालों को ताले में बंद करने का संकल्प लिया है.
ये रक्षा करते हैं हमारी. मोदी जी आपसे भी यही रक्षा करते हैं हमारी. इनसे आप तुलना कर रहे हैं बजरंग दल की. बजरंग दल की तुलना बजरंगी से करें और हम बर्दाश्त कर लेंगे. ये अपमान नहीं सहेंगे हम। कैसे अपमान कर सकते हैं वो बजरंग बली का हमारा?
During his mammoth rallies, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is making it a point to chant Bajrang Bali ki Jai to drive home the point that BJP will make it a poll issue.
बजरंग बली की, बजरंग बली की।
With Nagarjun Dwarkanath, Bureau Report, India Today.
भारत माता की।
Now, the one issue on the Karnataka campaign trail that seems to be the great equalizer this time is corruption. Remember, just a few weeks ago, a BJP MLA, Virupakshapa, and his son were found with crores of cash in their residence and offices. This was following a raid conducted by the Lokayukta. The fact is that corruption is one issue where the BJP in Karnataka certainly cannot claim the high moral ground. So why exactly is corruption not becoming an issue in terms of what the public has to say? And how is the Karnataka Lokayukta, Justice B.S. Patil, dealing with the issue of corruption? I spoke to him on our India Today Karnataka roundtable. Listen in to what Mr. Justice Patil had to say.
The Karnataka Lokayukta was making the headlines. You raided the office first of a BJP MLA, Madal Virupakshapa, his son. Crores of rupees were found there. Then you raided the residence of the MLA, and eventually both of them were arrested. But Mr. Virupakshapa is now out on bail. Are we to believe that what happened with Mr. Virupakshapa and his son, with the crores of rupees that were found in their residence cum office, are an exception or a rule? You acted presumably there on a complaint, but is it an exception or a rule that such large quantities of cash are available in the houses and offices of our MLAs in Karnataka? What is your sense?
No, I can't make a general statement like that, because only when a complaint comes, only when preliminary facts are placed before us, only when prima facie case is made out, our machinery is set in motion. Two complainants came, they gave complaint, we deliberated on it a couple of days and asked them to provide proper material, the foundational material. Then we decided to raid and search. And we registered a case under the Prevention of Corruption Act, and that is the only power under the Act, Prevention of Corruption Act, we can arrest. Under the Lokayukta Act, we can search and seize, but not arrest. But that was a case under the Prevention of Corruption Act, and we raided and we arrested. As regards whether it is all pervasive, whether all representatives, elected representatives, regardless of political affiliations are like that, I cannot make a statement like that. It will not be fair to make a statement like that, because in every field there are honest people. In every field there are dedicated, committed people. And at the same time, in every field, the cancer is spreading, unfortunately.
But Mr. Virupakshapa, as I said, is now out on bail. He in fact was hoping for a ticket, was denied it, went back to his constituency where he was given a hero's welcome. I mean, what's the, when you see those images, here is someone who's been caught with large amounts of cash in his house, goes back and gets a hero's welcome, had actually gone in hiding for a few days. I come back to it. You believe this is the exception or the rule?
No, this is where you have posed a very right question, the perception of the people and their attitude towards corruption and corrupt people. It should pain us, it should shock us to such an extent that we should rebel against it. Instead, if you want to celebrate that, if you want to give a hero's welcome to people like that, then it will send a very wrong message to the common man that even when a person is guilty of corruption, is caught with so much of money, he will, for his bail, he will celebrate it, he will give him a hero's welcome. So that is a very, very bad trend, and that should not have been done. That should not be done.
Because when you say rebel, Justice Patil, I want to understand there are a number of citizens, and I know Bengaluru in particular is full of very conscientious citizens who are always lamenting about corruption, whether it is the quality of the roads, whether it's potholes. You know that your BBMP in particular is highly corrupt. Are you telling them when you say rebel, come out, give specific complaints, and the Karnataka Lokayukta will act on them?
Definitely. That is my invitation. I have been doing that. I am telling the Bangaloreans, I am telling the Kannadigas, Karnataka citizens, not only about these kinds of corruption, other maladministration. We have powers under the Karnataka Lokayukta Act. Any maladministration. What is maladministration? Maladministration is any negligent act on the part of the official concerned, public servant. Any unreasonable delay on his part in attending to the work which he is assigned. Any nepotism, favoritism, any substandard work in discharge of his work as an engineer or any other officer.
Okay, let's take a break at this point. When we return, we are turning to our good news today story. It's the story of a 6-year-old Arishka Ladda who went to the Everest base camp. Her story when we return.
Karishma, take us through all the key numbers of the case and what happens to passengers who booked their tickets.
Absolutely. Go Air Rates Limited's Go First, which is India's third largest airline, like you mentioned, has filed for bankruptcy, and clearly it does not look, it's almost a turbulence in the air, because Go Air has been one of the low-cost airlines and holds a market